Yeah, Talaman, Geek Talk. Let's enjoy the show. Talaman always got a plan. Geek Talk is popping where it's really at. Represents geek culture, homie got structure. Sometimes it's vulgar, screw cast culture. Feel like Luffy, smart to say the least. Loving One Piece, man, really loves to eat. Everybody knows the show is really is Talaman. You know what time it is. Let's go, Geek Talk.
From my head down to my toes.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Geek Talk with Tyler, and as always, I'm your host Tyler. Our episode today will be continuing the musical theme this month we'll be following, as we have previously just celebrated our 100th episode with our previous guest, Mr. C, as we've discussed another controversy in theme songs, instrumental versus lyrical. Now we have two more exciting guests. Would you guys care to introduce yourselves? Where we can reach you, what you do, how people can get in contact you, etc., etc., etc.?
What's going on? I'm Austin Plague.
My name's Alex Black.
And we are Half Past Dead.
You can contact us by satellite or carrier pigeon at halfpastdeadmusic.com. All of our socials are at HPD Half Past Dead. We just dropped a new record called Kiss the World Goodbye. It's on all social media, streaming platforms, Spotify, and the whatnots. But we are here to talk geek stuff.
Terrific. As you know, that theme song was provided by Mr. C himself, but the song following that was actually provided by one of our voice actresses, or actors, depending on what term y'all like to use, from our upcoming X-Men series, Freedom. The song itself is called Heat, parentheses, On Fire. So feel free to look that up, and if you do want to reach out to her, she is available on social media. Freedom on Facebook, and I believe also Freedom on Instagram, but if you type that in, you'll get the same profile. And she is available on TikTok if you have that. Then further away, let's get started. So, let's call spade a spade on this. reboots in America are about as common as cheeseburgers in every single state.
Yeah,
You sound
are.
like you've been on the road.
Yeah.
I've been around the block or two, yes.
Yeah, you are definitely not wrong. It honestly feels like every single day I blink and I see at least 4 or 5 different reboot announcements or a live action remake of it or something like of just like we're gonna take something that was fantastic and we're gonna go ahead and redo it again.
The degradation of art is repetition.
It is, and if I'm going to give a quick shout out to one of my previous guests, Marlene Sharp, it's done because people are familiar with stuff. Like, if I'm going to have the tie-in with comics for a second, more people are going to be drawn to, say, the latest Batman film than they would be to, say, a film about Detective Chimp or Metamorpho or something.
That's interesting. You know, about familiarity, you know what they say about when you watch things that are familiar, probably means you're a little depressed, right? You know, we go back to watching the same shows. It's like, you know, Batman, he could wear, you know, people always think Batman is dark and brooding, but he changes his outfit throughout different iterations, you know,
But
and then
isn't it always dark and brooding? Like, here's what I've never understand about Batman, the whole Bat family's attire, okay? It's like, okay, we have Batman. His outfit is dark because so nobody sees him. But then we have Robin's outfit, who's bright as shit. It's like, okay, so why is his outfit bright?
he's
So nobody sees Batman.
so that way, you know, it's kind of like here's the bouquet of flowers, but we have bad news.
My personal favorite joke that I have seen, it was actually a sound that was going through TikTok. It was a very popular Jason Todd sound, and a very popular Jason Todd stitch was someone asking their Siri, why does Batman wear dark colors? So because he doesn't want to get shot at. Well, why does Robin wear bright colors? Because Batman doesn't want to be shot at. And I actually remember reading a comic that actually kind of explained it, but at the same time, it's still just such a bad thing because Robin actually asks him, "What won't people see me if I wear these colors?" And he goes, "Well, like I wear dark colors. If you wear dark colors too much, they become a crutch. You have to earn how to hide, even in bright stuff, so that way when you get dark colors, you'll be even better at hiding." And I mean, it's very self-explanatory as to why all of the Bat Kids, after they leave the moniker of Robin, end up getting like black and an accent color to go with it, because why would you want to wear that outfit?
Here's a question I have, though, and I'm going to postulate this. I'll throw out an olive branch. Since when do we have to earn dark colors? I can go to Kohl's and Macy's and get a pair of black jeans for like $40, and like, what is like? No, you can't wear that. Like
Have you seen how much Batman pays them?
You know what?
don't.
That is a fair point. I'm sorry. If Batman was giving me a paycheck as big as what they were probably getting, I would wear whatever he wanted me to wear.
I'm not going to wear what you tell me to wear. Like,
have you seen Bruce? Have you seen Wayne Manor?
Is this what
Bruce Wayne is easily one of the most richest characters.
I understand that. If
he gives you a check for, I don't know, say a couple $1,000s a night just for fighting crime, he put out what he tells you. Like, I work at Home Depot and they make me wear this stupid orange shirt. I don't even get paid nearly as much as they do, and I still wear the stupid orange shirt.
Is that why Bruce Springsteen walks on stage with the same black T-shirt and Levi jeans for the past 45 years? It's not clinical depression; it's repetition. He's earned those colors.
Now you're getting it.
He's trying to hide. What's he hiding? Is Bruce Springsteen Bruce Wayne in real life?
Bruce Springsteen's trying to hide why Santa Claus is coming. But
got him.
I'm mad that got me as much
Right?
as it did.
I mean, there's you know what they say, art imitates life, life imitates art. It's cyclical.
But I do really understand what you mean, especially by like the familiarity, because like you said, people are more likely to go see Batman for the umpteenth time or Superman, like big name characters. But like, if you bring
than not, when a Batman thing is done, it's to show their take on it. Like, we have the Adam West Batman, who is goofy, and then we get the 90s one with Michael Keaton, which was more serious, which then lead to the DCAU.
Yeah.
And then since then, all Batman have become more serious.
I don't know. Did you see the Clooney one?
We don't talk about that one.
Yeah, it's like Bruno. We don't talk about it.
We don't talk. We don't
I-
talk. We do
I
not
talk
talk
about it.
I mean,
You-
unless you can find a way for bat nipples to become a superpower,
Listen,
we don't talk about it.
telling me that bat nips is not the greatest invention that you've ever seen. Not only because it is pointless, but also it has 2 points.
I genuinely can't tell if you're just trolling people or not.
I'm just trying to get the Clooney fans up in arms and legs.
I mean,
Stop.
Uma Thurman Poison Ivy was pretty sexy, but
There you
that
go.
can only sell a movie so far. Like, the best thing about Wonder Woman 84 was a Kristen Wiig furry. That's about it.
Yeah. Yeah. You're not wrong though. Like
But in 2024, I feel like a lot of the over sexualization has been sort of a trend. And
Well, that's
I-
Rule 34 in existence.
yeah, I
If
feel like
it can be made sexualized, it will, regardless of what gender or sex you are.
right, but my point being, in terms of the reboots, going to the topic at hand, I feel like that it's not so much that people will go see things out of familiarity, which is true in of itself. That's self-evident. But I think that it's not only because of that. I think that people are told what to go see because it's the only thing that's being pushed out.
You mean like
Now-
a subliminal message kind of a thing?
No. I think it's more, if you want to keep a secret, the best place to keep it isn't right in front of people. So if you don't put out new things and you only ever tell people, hey, these are the only things that are out, and they give you a sample platter of 3 choices, you only have to pick from those 3, right? So you
by
have
the wedding logic.
you have the superhero movies, and then you have the rom-coms, but there are no more, like, it's like that's it. Or maybe like a comedy here and there, but those are even starting to go down. So I think it's
Well,
about
come on, we live in politically correct times.
That's my
Comedies are a scarcity.
I
Yeah.
think that the people that are making these movies and these reboots per se are not so much going for familiarity; they're going for a money grab.
I don't think they're going for familiarity. I think they're going on their take on what's been done.
Maybe the
Let's
directors
look at The Lion King.
and the guys funding these things—they don't care about that kind of thing.
I mean, let's look at The Lion King. It's been done twice. Once all the way back, called Hamlet, and once a couple years after, called Kimba the White Lion.
Yep. Yep. And then, but kind of jumping off of what you said, I do agree with you that, like, I definitely think, at least in terms of the directors and the writers, it's very much this is my interpretation of it. Especially since, and that's honestly one of the reasons why I do get excited when, multiple productions of like the same character have been done, because it gives you the opportunity to see somebody from another perspective. So and that's one of the reasons why each Batman is very different from one another. And
Well, I wouldn't say very different. Like,
well, they're all dark brooding and
no,
like
I mean, even the casting choices. Like, we've had several Kevin Conroys or Rustin Power, or even characters like Optimus Prime. Most of them are voiced by Peter Cullen.
yeah.
As another example, even if their voices were slightly altered. Like, I've learned this through Bloomfox Studio. Even if you're auditioning for a character you've previously voiced, they may want you to do it differently.
Yeah.
Like, if you'll notice Generation 1 Megatron and Transformers Prime Megatron, both of which are voiced by Frank Welker.
But both of them sound like, but both of them tend to have like a little bit of differences here and there.
Exactly.
Yeah. I was, yeah. And my reference is primarily, when I was talking about that, I was primarily talking more about like live action. Cause like Michael Keaton's Batman is very different from, say, God, why is his name escaping me? Yes, Christian Bale.
Bale.
Thank you. Who's also
that is.
who's extremely different from Ben Affleck, who's extremely different from, like you said, Adam West. I don't remember Christian Bale running around going, "Some days you just can't get rid of a bomb."
That would be pretty funny, though.
That would be funny.
I'd kill to see that.
My biggest problem with these Batman movies that do exist,
Mhm.
they use the same villains. It's either always Joker or Penguin or Two-Face, Riddler, We
with
get it. They're the big villains, but Batman, without a doubt, has the biggest rogues gallery of any comic book character.
And they use like the same 4 characters every time.
It's like,
Well,
okay,
no.
maybe occasionally we'll get Ra's al Ghul, Bane, or Catwoman.
Yeah. And it's primarily because like the familiarity of it, like you said, but like he said as well, it's also just those are the money people. Those are because like everybody's always going to show up for a Joker, but that's honestly one of the reasons why I liked the most recent iteration of the Batman is because they brought the Riddler. And not only did they bring the Riddler, they made him terrifying.
I mean, look, no one's asking us to use Condiment King in the next movie, but just someone good. Like, I don't know, maybe Killer Croc or Mad Hatter get some mind control shit going on there.
Or if you want to go like a more serious route and all that type of stuff, you could, Killer Croc would be a great one. Mad Hatter would be pretty cool. Honestly, like I would love to see Professor Pig.
Clayface would be a good one.
Ooh,
That would be
yes.
good, yeah.
Or hell, if you want to do an homage to the Andrew Garfield movies, just straight up Man Bat that shit.
Yeah, that would be really
forgot
interesting.
about Man-Bat.
That would be a really cool one. Like it's like you said, Batman has an enormous rogues gallery to the point where like literally other properties and other superheroes have borrowed a couple of them because Riddler for a little bit of time was actually a villain for Arrow.
Oh, yeah,
And
that's
then
right.
you mentioned way back in those Hanna-Barbera cartoons with the Legion of Doom or whatever it was.
Yep.
2 of his villains were part of that. Funny enough, Joker wasn't one of them.
And they actually, and the whole reason being was because he was too unpredictable.
Yeah, I mean, he's not a team player.
He's not. Well, they openly said, because I think they did a Justice League episode on it. Joker showed up and was like, "Hey, why wasn't I invited to the party?" And Lex Luthor openly said, "Because I don't know what you're going to do next."
Where's my goddamn electric car, Bruce?
Harley Quinn, I saw that episode.
That's easily probably one of my
One of
favorite
the best, and it's
episodes.
not only that; it's not the line itself; it's the delivery of that.
Where's
line.
my goddamn electric car, Bruce?
Yeah, when you think Jokers, I would have never thought Alan Tudyk could have passed off as a passable Joker.
Oh, it's great.
Same.
Perfect.
He's not bad, though.
No,
He's no Mark Hamill, but he's not bad.
I mean, no,
like,
but to be fair, I wasn't
that's a
expecting.
high bar.
But to be fair, I wasn't expecting Penny from The Big Bang Theory to be a decent Harley
Right,
Quinn.
right.
That's kind of a stretch.
I thought she was all
I think
right.
she's okay.
Yeah.
Like she's obviously never gonna beat the OG.
I mean, if
but-
we're going to talk good Harley Quinns, I would say the original, followed by the girl that played Starfire from the Teen Titans,
Yeah.
followed by Tara Strong, followed by
Yeah.
the other Big Bang girl. I forgot her name right now.
Oh God, I know which one you're talking about. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Bernadette's actor.
What's her name?
Um,
I just saw.
I'm gonna look it up. I'm gonna look it
I
up
just
after this is
saw,
over
like a-
because
like a
like,
snap-
We've
Snapchat.
mentioned it previously, but whichever. And then Kaylee Cuoco on the bottom. It's like, okay, for the first few seasons it was okay, but then it starts to get screechy after a while.
yeah,
But
and
I guess that's kind of isn't that the point? You know, a little bit. She's kind of annoying to everybody.
it,
you know?
So she would have made a better Black Canary because that's her whole powers.
Yeah, I guess so.
honestly,
But then
that,
that would be a little too on the nose. I feel like, but that's
Honest-
just me.
honestly, that would have been a fun thing to see. Seeing Kaylee Cuoco as
He
like-
had a stroke.
So
that
look,
killed the
shut
part
up.
of his brain. We have no sleep, so it's fine.
Yeah. But honestly, seeing her as like that would actually be kind of interesting to see her in a different as a different character in DC. Like honestly, it would be interesting to kind of see her as like Black Canary or something.
Now that is interesting. We bringing up all these like tertiary characters in DC because I think that's something that Marvel is actually doing a much better job at in terms of like live action stuff, bringing in.
They are. Guardians of the Galaxy is definitely a notable example.
Is I think it's a problem of volume. Like I honestly, God's honest truth, stopped watching because I can't keep up with movie after movie after movie. Like I gotta go do laundry. Like I can't sit here and watch 2 hours. I want to, but it's also at least they are making an effort to push the needle in terms of exposure to these other characters. And it's not only like their interpretations of it. I mean, a lot of it is pulled from comics, a lot of it isn't. So it's kind of interesting that they tend to meld.
Kind of ebbs and flows, like how Iron Man started in a cave, and that's basically how he started. But then we have Black Panther.
With the box of scraps.
Exactly. And then we have Black Panther, who's comparatively more of a pacifist. And it's like, so are you trying to get this right, or
Yeah.
what are you looking at?
I will say that does make me a little bit it does make me excited. Like, I'm not gonna lie, when James Gunn announced his list of like superheroes he was going to do for his DC universe, and one of them, I actually got surprised. I was actually really excited to see Booster Gold on there, because Booster Gold is not as well known of a character. Like, obviously, for those of us who watched like the Justice League series when we were younger, like, we're familiar with Booster Gold, but modern day, like, especially big DC fans and all that type of stuff, while he's not like a low level person, he's definitely not like, he's not your Superman or your Green Lantern or anything along those lines. He's definitely a little bit more of a lesser known.
Well, which Green Lantern? Guy Gardner,
Kyle Rayner, John Stewart. Also, this is probably going to be a controversial thing to say. John Stewart's best Green Lantern. Fight me.
I feel like Guy Gardner they should have put for the Justice series, just to annoy Batman and for no other reason.
I would have loved to see the scene
The
where Batman punches out Guy Gardner. That would be so great.
I mean, don't get me wrong. What the Justice League series was phenomenal, and Phil Hartman delivered excellently as Green Lantern.
Yes, he did.
But I still think it would be funnier if we added Guy Gardner out there. I mean, Flash was great as comic relief,
Yeah.
but just somebody to piss off Batman.
Oh yeah, just that one person who just sits there and just goes to Batman and goes, "Hey, your buttons. I'm about to push all of them."
Honest. But I feel like that's Batman. At least for the Justice League series, he was always just annoyed at everybody. I mean, he idled at a pissed off. Like, he's always just.
It's like Wonder Woman's like, "Hey,
Didn't want to be
Batman,
there.
I made you pancakes. Why aren't you
Like-
on watch duty?"
Literally.
Yeah. And why aren't these
And he's
waffles?
like, and I already made them and they're better.
Yeah. Jokes
I
on
have
you.
people that can make this for me.
And he goes, and I can make pancakes that'll kill all of you. And you're I'm like, why are you always
Especially you, Superman.
Someone-
These come with kryptonite sprinkles.
Oh yeah, he's
Oh yeah. Yellow kryptonite sprinkles, like, because he
No.
wants to make sure all the grounds are covered.
No, pink kryptonite sprinkles. You know, really just trying to get out.
We don't talk about the pink kryptonite.
Rule 34 does.
Yeah, that is. You're not wrong.
Or, since it's going to air today, if you all saw the latest One Piece episode,
I'm not.
I have not sadly seen. I have not been able to keep up with One Piece. Truth
That's
be told.
another Marvel kind of thing where it's like, oh, stop. It's like it's so
There's
many.
so many.
yeah, that's a commitment scene. But if we're going to tie this back to music, a lot of the songs that do exist, I will say this about music.
Mhm.
It does a better job with originality than than movies and television does.
Yeah.
So, as musicians and fans of movies and television and comics, etc., why do you believe this is?
I think it's because in terms of music, I feel like there's a lot more flexibility. Because, like, especially, I also feel like in the music scene, it's a little bit more, I guess a good word is acceptable to kind of have like homages to other people. So, like, a great example is Greta Van Fleet. Everybody's just like, oh, they sound like Led Zeppelin, but they say that in a good way. Like, the lead singer, some don't, but like,
haters are gonna hate.
another great example is like, if you've ever heard of the Axis of Awesome, they did
I believe.
yeah,
Like, I've heard of it. I couldn't tell you about it or do an episode of it.
yeah. Well, the Axis of Awesome is I think they're a parody group, and one of the songs that they do is called the 4-chord song, where the easiest way to get a number one hit song on the billboards is to write what is called a 4-chord song, and they start playing the same 4 chords throughout the entire song,
like
but it's 40 different songs.
Yeah, it's like the 1-5 minor 6-4 kind of progression.
Yeah. And the thing is like, you listen to
They're
that.
right. They're
Yeah,
right.
and you realize how ridiculous it is because like at the end of the day, if you like, and the funny thing is like they change up the songs that are in that thing in the live production.
And they even rearrange the chords, but they're the same chord structure, and that goes back to familiarity, right? And also in terms of music, it's about harmonic resolution, melodic resolution. So if you start on the 1 and you go to something like the minor 6, they still are somewhat related. They have shared notes, they have borrowed notes. So no matter what, you're still not really making a beeline for anything. Where like in a song like ours, "The Evil That You Make," they play this fifth. It's like it's a 1-6-7 progression. We go to the 5, and that kind of changes the tone in the pre-chorus, and then we go back to the 1 because it's all about familiarity. You got to tie it all together. Some guys, if you're into jazz, no, we don't do that.
But
you got to dance around tonic for a little bit.
But
Well, I
going
mean,
back,
people do jazz around jazz. Like if you especially go to the New Orleans area, that
Oh,
place is just booming
that's-
with dance.
it's beautiful. It's beautiful. But going back to what you said about like movies and TV shows and all that type of stuff, going back to what I said, I feel like it's more acceptable because you hear that 4-chord song, you hear all these songs that use the same chords, and everybody hears them and goes, "Oh yeah, that's funny," but the songs still slap. Whereas if I got into comics and I wrote a Batman-like character or something along those lines, everybody would just be like, "Well, that's just a shitty Batman."
Well, I mean, let's face it. Batman is by far one of the more impressionable characters. You've definitely seen him, like, I believe there's a character in the Tick comics that was kind of based off him. There was one in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles kind of based off him.
Yep.
Definitely, Darkwing Duck was obviously based off him. It's like, hey, here's Batman, but let's just make him into a peking duck.
Yeah.
And then that's the premise of the show.
I think in music, continuity is much less of a significant factor in terms of, and this isn't just for rock and roll here, this is for all kinds of music. Like there is a level of continuity, like, hey, say you're Ariana Grande and you're going to write this pop hit, right? And it's like, okay, so we're going to start with the chorus, right? Don't bore us, get to the chorus. We're going to do the chorus, and then we're going to do a verse, and then we're going to do a bit, maybe a pre-chorus, maybe, and then we'll go hit another chorus again. So it's like, it doesn't really, there are tropes, there are things that make sense and are formulaic, but continuity and music is not pre-established. Batman hasn't established these are who he is.
If I may, can I put a
there are things.
If I may, rock and roll stems from the blues. So, I mean, doesn't that in itself have a sense of continuity?
Oh, well, I didn't say that there was no continuity. I said it plays a much less significant role because if there is a rock band that has no blues bass whatsoever, so okay, let's say no pentatonic. We're not playing 1-4. We're not going to play E and then A and then B and then go back to E. We're going to play something different kind of chords. There's rock bands that are more jazz influenced. I'd say Frank Zappa is a perfect example.
Yeah.
Especially I'm the Slime era, but that's more that's more jazz based for sure. But like I said, that's why I think music has a much wider opportunity to deviate as opposed to movies and TV because it's not a pre-established thing. It's sort of you're creating something original. There might be a base, right? But that doesn't preclude any sort of continuity because there has to be something that you hear and you go, okay, oh, that'd be cool. You make your spin on it, but it's not the same as if you're taking a character like Batman and going, I'm going to make Batman green, right? And it's like, whoa, that's not right.
Well, I mean, it kind of worked for Spider-Man. I mean, okay, let's
That's
start with
true.
Spider-Man.
Sure,
Peter
let's bring-
Parker, he got bitten by a spider, lost his Uncle Ben. Great power comes great responsibility. And then we get another Spider-Man. Miles Morales lives in Brooklyn. His dad is black. His mother is Hispanic. And he lost his uncle, who, spoiler alert, was the Prowler. I'm not sure if that was in the actual comics or actually just the movie.
It wasn't. So Prowler in the comics, at least in most comics involving Miles Morales, I don't think he dies, but yes, Uncle Aaron is the Prowler.
Mm-hmm.
now since the movies, he has, and since the Spider-Man Miles Morales video game, Prowler has kind of upgraded from like a D-list supervillain to like a little bit more pronounced and a little bit bigger, if memory serves me correctly. But Prowler being Uncle Aaron and Miles Morales' uncle is a pretty consistent thing that does not really change very often.
Well, in terms of Spider-Man, you also have to remember that like it's not like it's all Peter, right?
Mhm.
They're different. There's different universes, times. There's different people. I feel like that is kind of why it's okay to be more flexible with Spider-Man. It'd be one thing if there's like a different like there's Superman, but it's like not Clark Kent. It's a different dude. So then it's a little okay. Then you can kind of
Well, in my experience with any form of storytelling, anything you could just make any sort of alteration
right.
and just pass it off as, oh, that's multiverse bullshit.
Yeah, and
Really,
honestly,
what the Pandyverse did.
yeah, and honestly, you could honestly make that argument about music as well. Where like going into the metal genre specifically, you could sit there and do something. You could sit there and say you're metal, and then you could do something that deviates off the regular path, and then you could just sit there and go, "Oh, we're thrash metal," or "Oh, we're deathcore," or "We're metalcore," or like. I feel like it's a similar vein, kind of similar to going back to DC Comics. Somebody doesn't like what happened. Oh, that's just an Elseworld story. It's fine. It's not the canon continuity. Or in the case of, like you said, like with Spider-Man, you don't like that version of Spider-Man. Oh, that's just a multiversal thing. That's a different universe. That's not 616. You're fine.
I think if that concept, if it were to relate to music, it would not be a direct correlation, but it would have some sense of similarity in terms of the people's reaction. If a band, I'm gonna make an example here. I'm a big fan of the band Therefore Tomorrow. They no longer exist, but they started out as like a punk rock kind of post-hardcore group, and then they went into a little more of like a pop rock group, but it was still like good, And then they went a little more like they had this sort of, I don't really know how to describe it, like lo-fi. Synthwave kind of vibe, and it was interesting. And as they evolved, they explained, listen, we're not the same people. We change, and our sound's going to change because we want people to know that we can do more than just make punk rock tunes or radio rock hits. And in the same vein that when you have a superhero character or movie or TV show iteration that changes, you're going to lose people, but you're also going to gain people. And I think the same works for musicians, where if you change your sound, yeah, you might lose, your initial base. You might not. You might lose some people that you picked up along the way, but you're going to gain some new people too, because at the end of the day, it's all art, right? Music, TV, film, comics, it's all art.
Architects is a great example.
That's a very perfect example of that in terms of like a modern situation.
I think this also kind of ties to original songs in movies and whatnot. Like Disney is the most well-known example, especially during the Renaissance era.
Yep.
The Little Mermaid, Lion King, Hercules, Beauty and the Beast, Tarzan, and all examples of original songs.
Yeah, they are. I think it's fair to say Disney is king when it comes to like original music and their media and everything along those lines.
By far the only one.
Yeah.
But even when it does that, like, okay, we have the original Lion King. Like, I remember seeing the two. I Just Can't Wait to Be King.
Mm-hmm.
It actually looked like something you would see on Broadway.
Well, the music is very Broadway based. It is very.
Let me finish this for a second.
Yeah,
then you see the live action version. It just feels like the animals were staged.
Yeah.
It's like some very off-putting circus show.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Which sucks because like the live action version, I was really looking forward to trying up
quote, by the way. I mean, let's call a spade a spade. The only way you can make it live action is if you put peanut butter under their mouths and make them talk like Mr. Ed.
Yeah.
I think,
which I don't think would have the same effect.
I'd love to see it. I think the live action Lion King was, in my opinion, I think the producers and the filmmakers were more focused on, hey, let's see how far we can push CGI. It's not about, people already know these characters. We don't need to prove anything. let's just see how far we can go with the technology. Now, we're still going to try and make a movie that is accessible and understandable for children and for our audience as Disney, right? And that's no perfect, it'd be different, I think, if they tried to do that same sort of technological advance with a brand new story. People would probably go like, I'm not going to go see it because it's probably going to suck. I don't know. This AI thing is new. Because think about when that came out, that was pretty revolutionary. I mean, Avatar was one of the first, and then Lion King does it. And so I think it was a smart decision on their end to go, let's go with one that will sell so we don't lose bank on this. Now, you can look at it from multiple perspectives, whether morally that's a good thing or not. But I think that they chose to do that storyline not because they thought it would make it better, but just to see how far they could go, so that hopefully, and this is in my heart, I hope that they're going to make more original things with that technology. Now, as a skeptic,
let's call spade a spade. As a businessman, I respect them for doing that. It brings in mad bucks.
Yeah.
But as a fan growing up with Disney, we know Disney has the capability to make original content. But movies aside, let's look at the movies for a second. They're either based on literature, like The Fox and the Hound, Oliver and Company, Tarzan, or they're based on some sort of mythology.
Yep.
Like Snow
Hercules.
White, Hercules. What's that Polynesian one?
I think Moana.
Yeah, they're all based on some form of mythology or folklore or something to
it's
an
some
extent.
sort of cultural pull. Yeah.
Some sort of cultural pull. But as far as TV shows go, that's where their originality lies.
There's a lot more freedom when it comes to
less pressure too.
Yeah, a lot less pressure when it comes to TV shows, and I feel like it gives you the opportunity to be a little bit more original and a little bit more experimental and a little bit more. Let's try this.
Because I think that, in terms of television studios, the way they're run, it's like, okay, hey, we're gonna get you on for a pilot, and we'll see if it runs. And if we don't, we're not gonna lose an extraordinary amount of money, and we can just renew it for another project. But like you do the same thing for a movie, it's like we just lost $250,000. That they're way less pressure. So I think movie producers are more reluctant to do that sort of thing, because at the end of the day, you can look at money. There shouldn't be a determinant factor in art. I agree. At the end of the day, people's livelihood depends on it as well, because there are people that are just working grunt work and doing AV and lighting and stuff like that. So they're honest, hardworking people in the industry as well, and so they're like, I don't want to be out of a job. I don't want to put these people out of a job because this movie, it doesn't, the odds and the optics, especially culturally. And like we talked about, we're in 2024, try making it like a Adam Sandler-esque comedy, or like try making Dirty Work.
Want to make it an Adam Sandler-esque comedy? Like, I feel like we can
90s Sandler,
like something Robin Williams-esque thing, or my personal favorite, Rodney Dangerfield.
Oh my God.
I mean, granted, that comedy's not going to exist anymore. Like, the closest we can get would be Bill Burr.
Yeah,
Burr's doing like Dice Clay. He's like the modern day Dice, and I think on his recent special he had Dice introduce him. But like, there's no way. Well, I don't want to
look at me and tell me you're going to make me another Blazing Saddles.
Oh God! No.
Like, tell me you're going to do that.
I have another movie where Robert Downey Jr. is dressed as a black guy.
Thunder,
I will literally just sit back and watch that go up in flames. Whereas in television,
figuratively or literally,
whereas in
or
TV,
synaptically, which I believe is the concept when it's both.
Yeah. Whereas with TV, I think you could get away with a lot more stuff like that. I
mean, let's look at Disney back when they were starting TV programs. I believe their very first show was originally Floofy Dogs, but then that was like when they were trying something and it didn't work out. But their first successful one was Gummy Bears.
Mm-hmm.
And then they've had shows like DuckTales, Tailspin, Gargoyles. # keep getting Gargoyles, by the way.
But if you would have looked at me, like, great example, like freaking 2010 or something along those lines, and told me that a show like Hazbin Hotel was going to come out.
Phenomenal.
Oh my God.
Surprised.
It's great.
Show with that many Broadway actors.
Yeah. Like, the show was the show was absolutely phenomenal.
Phenomenal. It's possibly getting a second season. But
that's actually confirmed now. It is getting a second season.
Even with all those Twitter hate marks about it's going against Christianity.
Oh yeah. But like,
you're always going to get those folks, no matter what the religion or circuit
well, I
is.
mean, South Park did get those from all those anti-Muhammad things. Like, only 6 of the episodes were banned from Comedy Central,
yeah,
and 5 of them are Muhammad related. In case you're wondering about the last one, it's the elephant makes love to a pig episode from season 1.
that sounds about right.
Yeah, that'll do it.
South Park is honestly the biggest trademark of let's see how far we can go with this.
Yeah, but it's not like Family Guy where it does it just for shock value. They do it to prove a point.
Yeah,
It's more like it's become more of a cultural statement or a cultural, I guess, reflection than it is. But they do it through the lens of comedy. The comedy is the vessel to make a point, like you said.
I mean, honestly, a lot of these people, Britney Spears, Kanye West, Barbara Streisand, are all pissed that they were on South Park. I'm like, if you are on South Park, you should be happy about that.
You should honestly
about that.
You should be fucking honored, honestly.
Like, dude, if they showed me as like some sort of 300-pound or 500-pound guy that can't leave his office talking about geek shit, it's like, okay, I know that doesn't look like me, but thank you for mentioning me.
Yeah, in the back, I'm sorry. If it was me, I'd just be sitting there going, I made it.
I always think of, you brought up Family Guy, I think of the episode where Stewie's like, hey, it's rock drummer Tommy Lee, and he's like, hey, go punch your wife in the hepatitis. And I'm like, you know what? If I were Tommy Lee, I hope, in terms of like who he is as a person, no way. But like, I'd be like, if they did that sort of thing to me or any one of the guys in that episode, I'd be like, all right, or whatever. I'm on the thing, whatever.
It's like you said, if
shows like that have brought in original music, like South Park's "Let's Fighting Love,"
chocolate salty balls,
right? Or
like,
Family Guy has had "What I Want for Christmas." Has had
banger after banger for starters, but also just the fact of like, South Park is really good.
They had a Van Halen episode.
They did.
And they had like the world peace, and they were like, your world's gonna unite under one symbol, and it was the Van Halen logo, and I lost my freaking mind.
I think one of the reasons why they're so good at originality is because when they write music and all that type of stuff, they take a trope and they intentionally either flip it on its head or do that trope but over the top, so that way it's just a giant middle finger.
It's like if you didn't,
you mean like the City Walk guy, or should I say the Shitty Walk guy?
Shitty Walk. Hey, Shitty Orange. Damn Mongolians.
And it turns out he's a white guy the whole time.
Yeah. You got like an identity problem.
Yeah. And
I feel like that could have also been interpreted as a cultural statement, given like the amount of it could have been a thing.
It's one of those things where they always say how Simpsons predicts the future. Well, it's one of those moments where South Park predicts the future. Like, there was an episode, Mr. Garrison's Fancy New Vagina.
Oh, right. Right.
Yeah, where first we have the transgenders. For the record, I have nothing against these particular individuals. But then eventually we have the transracial, where Kyle feels like he's black. And then the trans species, where his dad feels like he's a dolphin.
Yep.
Then I think they made Kanye. They had the gay fish episode.
Yeah, they made
a Sticks episode.
And
time.
I feel like if we want,
and it's funnier now knowing what happened to Kanye.
Yeah. I feel like
the whole keep it ye thing.
No, my God! I'm talking about him going kind of DEF CON on the Jewish community, but sure.
Yeah, I saw that one where his album cover looks like a swastika.
Yeah, I remember that.
I don't remember.
Or him being on TMZ going slavery was a choice. Like,
oh, I remember that.
Yeah, Kanye is just.
It was a choice to have slavery, to have slaves, or it was a choice to be a slave.
His exact words were, slavery existed for 400 years. 400 years, that sounds more like a choice.
What the heck?
Right? I'm sorry. We just need to take him, get rid of his microphone, and then just put him in a corner. And just be like, you're going to stay there, and you're not going to talk.
This reminds me of that. Eddie Murphy had a joke back in the 80s. It was like, they were talking about like, oh, slavery was so awful. He's like, yeah, it was. And he's like, he goes like, I'm going to butcher this, but you go watch the clip where he's like, the point of the joke where he's like the first African to arrive in America, and they were like, "Go pick the cotton." And he's like, "Suck my dick," and then they whip him, and the rest of them are like, "Okay, look, just keep that away from me."
Yeah, Eddie Murphy's
I
hilarious. I know what
ruined
you're
the
talking
joke,
about.
but like,
No,
But,
I can
like-
actually see this happening in like a Mad TV skit or an SNL bit.
Oh yeah, but like it's like it's like you said.
What's the other? I don't think this was a him thing, but In Living Color.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I loved that show.
Yeah, that was an old back in the day thing.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, that's like when Jim Carrey was the only white guy.
yeah.
And he was walking out as Olga or Fire Marshal Bill Burns.
Yes.
Like and I think one of the things that one of the reasons South Park is able to get away with all that stuff, going back to South Park,
was
is-
because they're equal opportunity offenders.
yeah, they don't care. Like they openly say in the very beginning, like it's the first thing you see. We're going to make fun of everyone. How you deal with it is honestly
Yeah.
your problem.
And they're like, "This is satire for those of you too stupid to understand this. This
Yeah.
is not meant in seriousness, but it's like they say it funny but mean it money in a way. So it's like if I'm going to over exemplify in this grandiose sort of interpretation of what we're going to water down what this person is to the gems, essentially, whether that's good or bad or sort of in the middle.
like freaking Megan and I think his name's Will, the royal family.
Oh yeah, I remember they did the only it was the Canadian version of that.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Respect up privacy. Respect up privacy.
Respect our privacy.
And they had the
Oh my
whole-
God. Why are you not respecting our privacy?
The
I'm not
royal-
even looking at
privacy
you.
tour. I remember that episode.
Yeah.
I would say out of
look-
all 300 something South Park episodes specials they have, there are only two I was not really a fan of, and that was the Pee Wee hockey tournament
I
and
didn't
the
know.
Crack Baby episode.
Yeah. I honestly think they got.
I liked Cartman in the Crack Baby.
Yes, that was the only saving grace. Where
Yeah.
it goes to the student athletes. It's like, okay, so how much do you want for them?
but that's kind of true with like the NFL. I mean, it's kind of like
You think you could just own Drayton? Screw you, sir. I walk at home.
God.
It's
Keep
also
in
like
mind,
yeah.
this is also the same show that has made fun of trans people, has taken several jabs at the Muslim faith.
Has
Christians,
taken multiple jabs at Christianity. Has taken
Christianity, Judaism, for God's sakes.
Even like
has-
celebrities, they probably even like they roast themselves every now and then.
And even
It's-
their other works, like Team America World Police.
in America, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, if you see all the celebrities there, the celebrities
God,
that make up the group FAG, they
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
exist.
Yeah.
And then
Because
they-
they're all the celebrities that didn't want to go to war during the crisis of 9/11.
Yeah.
I think this is a perfect example. They make fun of people that are uber sober, and then they make fun of the potheads. You know what I mean? And they'll do it in the same episode too. They'll make the sober guy be like, "Oh, I'm gonna drink water and go for a bike ride," and they make fun of him like he's some sort of loser. And then they show the pothead, and he's just sitting there. So in the same thing. So it's great because
Or
they
to the other
it's
extent, you got the truck driver like Jimbo, or you got the Prius driver like Kyle's dad. Thanks.
Yeah. Oh
The
my
be-
God.
I like there's also the UPS man one, which because that was like the hype of like Bane and the Dark Knight Rises. They got that cultural part, but then it's like infidelity and adultery and how it affects kids and everything, and also like kids like really poor interpretation of real life, and it's all of this into it boils it down to Mr. UPS man.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have slept with our wives, and it's like that.
Here
That's
show I respect my authority. Woo!
But again, like you said, they're equal opportunity offenders. They don't care. The firing squad is not aimed at a specific person. It's literally the firing squad is blindfolded, currently set in a circle, and they just go, "Okay, when I say fire, whatever you hit, that's just what we're going to focus on today."
That's the show also in terms of like reboots, and they are not very repetitive. If you think about like in terms of episode to episode, they always find a way to enthrall you, and there may be
a lot of the jokes they do is like, I'm
Continuity.
not fat ass, screw you,
good
Jim.
way of just keeping you along.
Well, yeah, and like you said, Tyler, the jokes are very familiar and like very repetitive and all that type of stuff. I
But
think
that's it.
I think one of the things that keeps it fresh though is the fact that they pull from real life. Like they pull from whatever is hot at the time. They were on top of the Kanye West Taylor Swift debacle. Yeah.
Early.
They
Like,
were-
It was almost like they knew like the day before.
Oh yeah,
happened. It was
they
crazy.
they were on top of like the 2020 presidency and like they were on top of they were on top of like that, like every single giant event that happened in the world. It felt like South Park was just it. You can say it's original, you can say it's a not original,
Or
but the thing
even-
is,
or how on top of their shit there are. Like the week before, the crocodile hunter died, and the next episode,
yeah.
you see
Yeah.
the hell episode. It's like
Either
dude,
they're
you
fast
can't-
or they're psychics.
It's like, dude, your costume's a little offensive. We can't have you here. He literally just died. Steve Irwin,
Yeah.
it's Muddy, the crocodile hunter. Oh, dude, you have to leave. No costume. What? But
Well, you know what
we're
they-
even friends.
See, but the thing is, I think that's what's different about like shows and movies like South Park and even music that comments on the current climate is like, you know what they say about real life, you can't make this shit up. You can make up Batman, but it's like real life happens. It's like, oh my Lord, who would have thought? But then again, you could also argue the point that history has a tendency to repeat itself, which, that goes into a much larger scope. And I promise no metaphysics before happy hour. I
Oh,
promise.
I
Yeah.
get that. Like a lot of the script I'm doing for the X-Men series actually does come from my real life situation. Like a lot of the times when I lived with my parents' house before I eventually moved out, whenever I do laundry, she always tells me to separate the colors from the whites, and I always called her racist.
yeah, you're not wrong.
So I found the right to weave that in during the X-Men have a group meeting. And it's like, so do you know why you're all here? And Colossus says, yeah, because Storm's being racist to me. I'm like, what? Yeah, every time I'm just minding my own business. I'm doing laundry. Next thing I know, she's telling me to separate the colors from the whites. I'm like, okay, Colossus, we're gonna put a pin in that and tell you why everything is wrong with what you're saying.
That's pretty good.
Or there's
need to-
another situation where I work at Home Depot, and it's no secret that a lot of my customers are of the Hispanic persuasion, but we live in the 2020s where
I'll be there in a moment.
we can't profile anyone anymore.
Mhm.
I had a teenager. He put the phone to my face. I didn't want to assume he didn't speak English because he was Hispanic. I assumed he was dicking around because he was a teenager.
Yeah.
They do that. They all do.
Right? So
The
I'm
thing
like,
we can agree on.
I'm sorry, sir. I don't know what this is. Can you tell me? And he's like, I know English. And I'm like, yes, I know English too. But what are you looking for?
Dude, I would respond this. I'm Colombian. I would respond the same way. Like, it's funny how people will get very, especially these days, get very uncomfortable about things like race. And I'm just like, listen, man, I'm just trying to buy some screws. Like,
Yeah.
can I?
Like, if he said no hablo español, this whole Abbott Costello routine would have been a lot shorter.
Yeah.
Or was it? Yeah, it's no hablo inglés or hablo español.
By the way, thank
Or
the
my
Abbott.
personal favorite you see from one of the earlier South Park episodes, gay.
Oh my God, I forgot about that.
Yeah, that's when Jennifer Aniston makes an appearance.
Yep.
Yeah. Hooray,
But-
children!
That should be not that, but the Abbott Costello thing reminded me. We always do a bit before when we're on stage. We do our song "Unbreakable." We always do a bit. I feel like we should be like, "I'm asking you who's on first," and
What do
then
you
go into the song.
mean?
I've
What
listened
do
to
you
that. It's a good song.
Thank you.
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
That's easily one of my Unbreakable is probably one of my favorites on the album. It's definitely one of my favorites that I play. But
Solid jam.
it is. It's a solid.
It's fun. Gets people
it's a-
moving.
it's a
makes us
banger.
move. It's great.
Well, if you're done jerking yourself off to the sound of your own song,
Not yet. Not yet. Hold on. Hold on. Not yet.
Let me finish.
all right.
We don't dance around here.
You good?
Yeah, we're good now. We're good. Okay. Okay.
Awesome.
You want me to
So-
cigarette?
But if we're going to tie back to original songs in movies and whatnot, I mean,
Mhm.
Transformers is an excellent scenario.
Yeah.
We have the
Beautified.
abortions, and then we have the classic, the Transformers, the movie.
Yeah.
Right.
So, as musicians, I'm not sure how familiar you are with the Transformers lore. Who do you think did a better job of it?
I will be the first to admit that I'm not very familiar with the Transformers lore, but I don't know. Because with Transformers the movie and everything along those lines, see, the first thing I think of every time I hear Transformers is just the original theme song of Transformers, Robots
Yeah.
in Disguise.
It's almost like a TV jingle, commercial jingle.
Yeah, but also nowadays, you hear Transformers, the first thing you think of is What I've Done or New Divide by Linkin Park,
Yeah.
Right.
which I honestly think is more of a staple, not so much of Transformers,
It's a generational thing.
but generational thing, but also just the factor of Michael Bay was smart and he got one of the biggest names in music.
Yeah, at the time, like he capitalized on Linkin Park at the right time. Like a year later, I don't even know.
Yeah.
You see, this were different because as somebody who appreciated the 80s film, you'll see a lot of lead voice actors. Orson Welles,
Yeah.
Batman Carruthers, and Leonard Nimoy all made an appearance in that film.
What about all those
Oh my
guys?
God, yeah.
Whoa.
It's been a minute since I've seen the original 1980s
I kind of
movie.
want to rewatch that now.
Yeah, I'm probably going to watch that high this week. It's
Okay.
probably going to just wow me. I mean, I've seen it sober, never seen it high.
It just sit there and go, wow, who put Spock in Transformers?
So, like-
Wow, it's like War of the Worlds, but in space.
That's like if they have a home field advantage.
Like, it's the black guy from The Shining, but he's a car.
And it's not Pixar.
Oh.
Talking about originality in movies, we're talking about Batman. One of my favorite records of all time is the Prince soundtrack to the Batman movie
Mhm.
in '89. That-
Yes, I remember that vaguely.
That soundtrack, not only, and I'm a huge Prince guy. I mean, we kind of both are, but
Well, currently the artist formerly known as Prince. Like,
Well, he was-
artists changed their name.
that
Yeah.
was a whole legal thing. So he was Prince, all right, and then it was
I actually don't know this.
Yeah.
It's a legal thing?
oh yeah. So here's what happened, and I'm gonna risk something. I'm not gonna say the record label. That brings back. Okay.
Yeah,
I'm rambling.
please don't say the record
I'm not going to
label.
say the
I would
label in
actually
case we ever get signed.
I would
on
like to
Monday.
have a job.
But they know who they are. But and they know what they did. But so what happened was Prince was going under his name, and what happened was he built Paisley Park, which was his studio and his home, and he was creating records and producing his own music. And the label said, "Hey, you still owe us money because when you're signed to a label, they give you an advance, and you have to pay that advance back when the record sells, and then whatever that advance was is recoupable, and then you start seeing money." And so what happened was the label was saying, "Hey, you still owe us this for your record." And he's like, "Well, why? I'm doing it myself. You guys didn't give me any money. Let's negotiate so that it can be a little more fair." And they didn't like that. And they said, "Okay, well, we're going to make it so you can't make records under your name, Prince." So then he goes, "Okay, I'm going to create a new group called the New Power Generation." Right. And then he goes, "I will no longer be called Prince. I will be the artist." And then, and he made a series of records as NPG and the artist. And eventually, I don't know, and this is where I'm a little fuzzy on this. Either he left the label or the label relented, or he won some sort of case, and he was able to return to being Prince. So
That actually explains a lot because with his brief cameo in New Girl, he refers to himself as Prince.
yeah, because and so eventually it was kind of the same thing with John Mellencamp. They made him go as John Cougar, and then he was like, "Okay, I don't want to do that anymore." He's like, "Well, you're stuck with that," and he goes like, "Fine, I think he said I'm gonna leave the label," and he went as John Cougar Mellencamp, and then eventually John Mellencamp. Tom Petty almost had a similar situation, but that was more so about money and advertisement. But yeah, so tying it all back to like Prince and the Batman record, I think that's a really good example of like, how I think back, 30, 40 years ago, they kind of had a lot more freedom and flexibility in terms of making things that are original be truly original,
That just honestly made me just think to like the whole wrestling thing with WWE, like Daniel Bryan and WWE and Bryan Danielson and AEW.
I'm not familiar.
You're also not as big a wrestling fan.
That's
as
true.
I am.
Yeah, this is the guy wrestling. That's him.
Well, I'll keep that in mind as a back pocket thing. But yeah, definitely check out the original Transformers, the movie.
Yeah.
Very well done. Some of the best music you'll ever see from the 80s. Dare to Be Stupid, The Touch, Hunger, and
Mhm.
Humans of Destruction, all phenomenal songs that all came from that movie.
Awesome.
A really good song that that I feel like really highlights like potential originality in movies that ironically enough came from one of the worst movies ever. Even though I do love it, it is part of my childhood and I will always love it. Going back to what we were talking about earlier with George Clooney, Batman and Robin, that movie is a joke in and of itself.
Yeah.
However, it did give us Kiss from a Rose,
That is true.
which is
Okay.
probably one of the most
It's a great-
people
one of the
still
greatest songs.
cover it to this day. So I think we can all agree Batman and Robin, it gave us that, so it's not like a complete waste of time.
Okay, it also was Bane's first cinematic debut.
Yeah,
Yes.
and that Bane was actually closer to the comics, but it was also
Wasn't it also Mr.
Mm,
Freeze?
I mean, in terms of the way he gets juiced up, yes.
yes that way, but
the
it was also
thing with Bane, he's kind of like a balance thing. He's a musclehead, and he's a smart guy.
they made him really stupid in that movie.
In the comics,
He's basically a hired thug.
Not
yeah.
even that. He's like one of the thumb people from
Oh,
Spike.
yeah, from Austin Power. Or no, it's Spike.
Yeah. Because the thing is in the comics, Bane is essentially just Batman with a steroid problem. Like he's
He
smart.
can't stop
He-
the juice.
My dude, he was able to figure out who Batman was just by looking at Bruce Wayne's jawline.
Yep.
Yeah, I
I
never
mean-
understood this in comics. It's like they put on glasses. It's like, hey guys, who am I?
It's like what they do at the airport. I think Hannibal Buress has like a bit, like he's a comedian. He has a bit where it's like, "Oh, can you take off your glasses, sir?" "Oh, yeah, well, it's still me." You know, congratulations, nothing's changed.
Well, the funny thing is Henry Cavill did this. Batman v Superman was coming out. He went to Times Square in a Superman shirt and
Oh, yeah,
stood
that's
under
right.
the billboard, and not a single person recognized him. And then he went back and did the same
I
thing with
forgot about
glasses.
that.
And I think it's honestly just a testament to just how much people just don't fucking pay attention.
Yeah,
Like,
Well, that's Times Square for you.
yeah, really.
everyone's just like, "I'm trying to get on the subway. Don't
I
bother
mean, I
me."
saw a naked guy in New York once, and not a lot of people were staring at him.
Yeah, because I think it's just an unspoken rule in New York City of if it's happening, I'm not looking at it, therefore it's not happening.
Exactly. But
Been there,
I mean,
done that.
but a lot of this discussion has focused on originality in music in the
Yeah.
States. But if we're going to talk about the other side of the globe, Japan,
Yeah.
a lot
Oh,
of anime.
You bet.
There's a lot of original theme songs. Like, all right, let's look like at shows like, say, Naruto, Bleach, shows that run for quite some time that have hundreds of episodes, or like One Piece,
And every
more than
season.
1,000 episode. But they changed their theme song, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to Family Guy or South Park or Simpsons. It's always
it's
the
remained
same thing.
that's a Western thing.
Well, I mean, the only example I can think of is Hunter x Hunter or Yu Yu Hakusho, where they keep their theme song for as long as they do.
Yeah.
Didn't JoJo's keep theirs too?
No, actually.
Oh, they
didn't.
don't? Okay.
So, because JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, each season
It changes.
is a completely different story.
I know that. Well, yeah, I know that like the panels and the change. I just never really, I guess, paid attention to that much. Okay, I'm ignorant on that one.
But yeah, honestly, like with what you're saying, like honestly, yeah, in Japan with anime and all that type of stuff, that is one thing that I will be the first to admit. I've never been the biggest anime guy. I've gotten a little bit more into it recently in more recent years, especially
Yes,
since
you started off with My Hero Academia or Demon Slayer.
actually no. The first anime that I ever fell in love with was Hellsing Ultimate.
Oh, okay.
And then
Interesting.
after
I can
that,
see that though.
and then after that, the anime that really made me dive into it was Berserk.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Original or remake?
Original is what I actually started with because that's what everybody recommended. That was and then after Berserk, because I like the darker ones, and I like the more I like darker and I like funny. Although I do have a
Dark
soft
and funny, or some that are dark and some that are funny?
both.
It's like dark humor, because I did see one called Crayon Shin-Chan where Funimation just completely had full liberation with it. Like had borderline South Park humor with it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like visually it's colorful, but their language is like,
Oh
how
my
do
god.
these kids get away with this language?
Oh yeah, I haven't seen that one yet, but I do know what you're talking about because one of my roommates watches that. But no, I originally liked like just the more darker ones like Death Note.
I'm
And
actually watching that now.
Okay,
Yeah.
so visually dark.
a visually dark storyline, very dark. But then in the later years, especially now, I started to branch out and just start watching one of more of the other ones. And one of the biggest ones is honestly, I absolutely love this anime, and I will defend it to my last day. Is One Punch Man.
That's a great
That's a
one.
gag thing, but yeah, it works.
It is. It's a gag thing, and I think that's one of the reasons why I like it so much is because it makes fun of the superhero trope of, especially like the superhero trope, and honestly, in some medias, especially like Dragon Ball Z, the getting stronger trope of somebody finally hitting the cap,
And they're bored and they're depressed.
and now they're bored.
And then they get like some sort of purpose. Obviously, he gets purpose and like training someone. And then there's like, oh, that's kind
I
of
like
a.
how his biggest problems come from sales at the grocery store as opposed
Right.
to finding, I don't know, their equivalent of Darkseid or whatever.
Yeah,
I'm a huge like Cowboy Bebop fan, and so like there's a
Ooh,
nice.
dude.
That, like, if you were going to make a billboard of the best
they
theme
did the
songs,
best
that
theme
would
song.
definitely be up there.
I
Mhm.
was
Number one is debatable, but definitely up there.
It's like this ceiling. It's not the best I've seen, but it's up there.
No,
And now that I
I
think about it, I think it's the only anime theme song that's 100% instrumental.
yes. It's
Other than like the like there's like some talking in the beginning.
It's-
Well,
like,
nobody really counts the talking. Like
No, yeah, but it-
Gargoyles, you see the Keith David Goliath narration, but then it's all dun 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 dun.
It's literally-
ba, ba,
literally-
ba.
boom, boom, ba, boom, boom, boom.
Right, or,
It's-
like, or even the Canadian series Beast Wars. They keep saying Beast Wars like da 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 da.
yeah.
Like you never count saying the title of the song or the narration as part of the theme song.
It's like tequila, you know.
Now that I think about it, now that you pointed that out, yeah, I can't think of many
that are purely instrumental.
that are straight. Honestly, I can't think of any off the top of my head.
Well, if you think about it, I mean, like bebop comes from that's jazz term. It's a style of jazz, and I mean, a lot of jazz music is instrumental. Now there is vocal jazz music, but not bebop. I mean, there's scatting, but like that's more vocalization than there is vocals. You know, in terms of the classical sense of it or the Western sense of it.
I mean,
maybe.
you'll see an instrumentalized version of
Sure.
a particular song, but that doesn't count because you can
That's
have
always
for
like
literally
an album
any
or
song.
CD or something.
I will say my two all-time favorite themes of for animes is actually Overlord is a very good one.
Hmm,
That one's easily one of my favorites, and then Fire Force, but specifically opening 2.
nice.
Mayday by freaking Cold Rain. That shit slaps.
If I
Um,
were to talk about great themes, but like not from cliche shonens,
mhm.
I would say Soul Eater definitely had a rockin' one.
That one
Yeah.
that one was
The
a
original
banger.
one, the second one, it started losing track after the second season, and it just kind of
Yeah.
went down. Like once they defeated Medusa, it could have just ended there. I think we all
Also-
would have been fine with that, right?
Honestly, yeah, I would have been okay with that.
Well, the thing is, in terms of the culture and the time period, when a lot of these shows started, it was at a time where like alternative rock and pop punk was kind of big. But the nation of Japan, they've always been into like rock and roll since like the 80s. And then I mean, Cheap Trick and Kiss were huge over there.
Yeah.
And I think as a culture, they're much like Brazil. They're very into rock and roll, very into like, you know, rock based, almost metal style of music. And I think that lends itself to that degree of change that we see throughout different seasons because, you know,
So
I don't
where
know.
do you stand on Neon Genesis Evangelion's theme song?
I'm not too familiar actually. There we go. That's why we have
I like it personally.
But I don't know
actually,
things
I actually
you
like
got.
it. And that is something I also noticed as well is like is anime, especially like with when you compare it to TV shows over in the West, you slap you.
And you know, fun fact, by the way, a lot of people don't know this, but the original Transformers is
Mhm.
technically an anime because it
Yes,
was
yes.
animated by Toei Animation, the same
Mhm.
studio that gave us Dragon Ball, Digimon, and One Piece.
Yep. I that actually I know. But that is actually something I have noticed, and it's honestly something I really appreciate with anime, even though I don't watch much of it, is the fact that they are more willing to try different genres when it comes to like their openings. Whereas over here,
We're
it's
just basically going with what works.
yeah, well, not just that, but we stay in a set thing. Like a lot of theme songs are orchestral or cinematically created, or they focus on catchy, which tends to stick to the pop genre. But over there, it's all over the place. Like Parasite, like their
Wait, is that
opening.
the one where the guy's hand turns into like?
Yes.
Yeah, I remember that one. That was like a while back.
Like their theme song is just straight metal. Like, and when I say metal, I mean like screamo metal.
Yeah.
Whereas like One Punch honestly gives me really big like old 80s like thrash, old 80s thrash.
What about Agretzko? Where do you feel on that one?
Which one?
Agretzko?
I actually have not seen that one yet.
The theme song is kind of death metal-ish, but it's
Mhm.
like about a red panda who works an office job.
That is beautiful. I have to watch that now.
great.
It's on Netflix.
I'm definitely gonna have to watch that now. But again, they kind of like it's one thing I really appreciate about anime is like there are, I don't know if it's because of the genre or because like in terms of shows, the only time that I really show any consistency in terms of the same themes or anything along those lines is honestly in the more, I don't know, cutesy animes, but and like there's obviously
what would count as a cutesy anime? I mean,
Sailor Moon.
yeah, but even that has some more questionable
Yeah.
themes. Like back in the '90s, we've had
90s anime was cool.
Cousins.
Yeah.
Loving.
90s anime was kind of unhinged if you think about
I'm
it.
kind of thinking
or like how fucking Nami from One Piece never went back to save her mom.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
Sanji was smoking lollipops.
Jesus. Forgot about that. No, I'm thinking when I say
Or my
cutesy,
personal favorite, Triangle Donuts.
What?
yeah, that's a thing. That is a thing in One Piece.
No, that was actually a thing in Pokemon.
Oh right. Oh my god, I forgot about that.
I don't
Yeah,
remember.
specifically
Maybe
the
I'll
episode
refresh that.
Primate Goes Bananas.
Yeah, Triangle Donuts.
I don't remember.
Yeah, and I cannot tell you how much of my childhood was spent looking for those.
Yeah, honestly, I spent a good amount of
That
my
was me
childhood
with
looking for them.
Krabby Patties. I still want them to exist. I still want them to exist. We're
Oh,
gonna
they do. They're called
No,
the crab
for
cakes.
real. Oh, but like for real. I also can't have shellfish.
Yeah, but I mean, keep in perspective that SpongeBob is so much smaller than you are. So the Krabby Patty would be about this big.
Okay, but you know that episode where Squidward goes in a big giant vault of them, and then it goes right to his thighs, and then he blows up. I'll have that.
Okay, so you'd basically be eating a whole bunch of Tic Tacs.
Essentially,
I already do that anyway, man.
you're not wrong.
I mean, I'll eat if I'm not like popping Tic Tacs. I'm popping like Hall's throat laws. I have a problem, a real problem.
Well, first step's admitting it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the next step is not doing a thing about it.
Get your feet off the table.
It's my table.
But
I mean, let's look at the comparison between the anime and the West, Canada,
Mm-hmm.
the States, and debatably parts of Europe,
Mm.
because those are the three main areas where animation truly thrives.
yeah,
U.S. is definitely more of a liberal state, more of a liberal set. I mean, some parts are conservative, some parts are liberal, but as far as media goes, it's definitely more liberal.
Sure.
we're definitely
The-
much more.
The entertainment industry has just always been that way. You know?
Yeah, we're definitely much more willing to kind of push the envelope.
Now we are.
Oh well, yeah. Nowadays,
I mean, back then, like back when Popeye was a thing, that was just the norm.
yeah.
Yeah. Although I'd be hard pressed to count Popeye as anime. I would be. I mean, I get in terms of like, okay, yes, it's animated, you know, but
It is animation. It is not anime.
There you go.
Thank you.
There you
This
go.
whole Avatar shit, how many people consider Avatar an anime. Was it animated in Japan? No. Then there you go.
The thing that I've been told, it is in the anime community, it's essentially classified as an honorary anime.
Okay,
It's
just
not
like
an
Beyond
anime.
Burgers are classified as inspired by real meats.
It's the Pluto of anime. It's like it's there. You know, we're not ignore it, but we're also not gonna. You can't.
You're not a planet, but at the same time, we still recognize you as part of our
It's
solar.
like a Schrodinger's anime.
Here's
Yeah.
here's what it's like. Listen, Avatar. You're on this council, but we don't grant you the rank of anime.
Oh, why you gotta do that, man?
Ah.
How dare you?
And then they proceeded to kill all the younglings.
I mean, you're not wrong.
They
Still
single hand.
less
I watched
graphic than
the
Full
live
Alchemist
I watched
Brotherhood.
Legend of Korra,
Legend of Korra. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yikers.
but
But I gotta
going.
tell you, as shitty as the Full Metal Alchemist original series was, their theme song was better than Brotherhood's. I'll give
Their
it
theme
that.
song,
The
their
theme
theme song
song
was a
was great.
banger.
And Brotherhood's had like it potential. Like it was neat, but like the original was better.
Yeah,
Song wise, Brotherhood was a great series though. I'll stand by that.
Yeah, I think that's like the only saving grace the original had.
Yeah,
yeah, and
original
that
was kind of just bland.
that
boring.
was something that everybody when I was kind of trying to start getting into anime, people kept recommending Full Metal Alchemist, but they never clarified. So when I pulled up when
no. So
when
you
I pulled
watched
it up,
one.
I was like, okay, do I watch Alchemist or do I watch Brotherhood?
Yeah.
And they were like, well, to be fair, you kind of need to watch Alchemist to understand Brotherhood. And I was like,
No.
really
You
not.
need
Do I
to
know?
Brotherhood.
Yo,
And
you
then-
don't
see, that's-
they
and-
explain it,
and
in, like,
that's
the
where I-
first episode.
yeah, and that's where I got confused. So I'm not gonna lie, I started watching the first few episodes of the original.
And you're like this blur.
Like, you
And
can
yeah,
get
I
away
was
with saying Dragon Ball Z Kai. You don't necessarily need to see Dragon Ball Z because
Yeah.
Z Kai is just 100% canon.
Yeah, like, and it's also the equivalency of like with Dragon Ball Z, you don't have to watch Dragon Ball. Like, you honestly,
it helps.
It definitely helps, and you
It's not going to kill your buzz though.
no, and I would recommend it because Dragon Ball in and of itself is just a completely different level of chaos. But at the same time, like you said, it's not required. Like, I can watch Dragon Ball Z and just be like, okay, this makes sense.
No,
But
I mean, even originality for, say, themes, like there's a character's themes,
mhm.
like you'll see that more often, but not as much. Like, okay,
Yeah.
like let's look back at Dracula. That was an original classical piece, or Darth Vader. That was the Imperial March. But
Yep.
now
Yeah.
everybody knows it as Darth Vader's theme song.
Yeah.
Well, ironically
I think
enough, originally, one of the things one of the things that I really appreciate with movies, in particular, and with TV shows, is like that's honestly one of the few places where you can find like true originality when it comes to a lot of the music, because orchestrally speaking, a lot of it is done from scratch. And while there may be one or two homages here and there, there's not really any direct ripoffs or anything along those lines, unless it's
I mean,
designed.
it sounds similar, but you can only play so many chords.
Yeah, like, and that's the thing and like at the end of the day, like it's the same thing with like storytelling. You can like there's only so many stories you can tell before you're finally just telling the same one over and over again, just with a different skin.
It's West Side Story, right? How many iterations of what? It's the same story, just a different actor.
Or
But I
Shakespeare. How many Shakespearean stories?
exactly.
Tell? Like Lion King 1 was Hamlet, and Lion King 2 is Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah, a whole lot of Shakespeare going on.
And
But-
Lion King 3 is going to be Othello, because here we have an even darker skinned lion.
Oh.
Because reasons.
Yeah, you know.
I don't know. I couldn't think of another Shakespearean. Oh, A Midnight Summer's Dream, because all the lions are magical now. I don't
Yeah.
know.
I have two things to say about movie scores. But we brought up Star Wars. First of all, John Williams is just a genius. I believe
John
he's
Williams, Danny Elfman is another good one.
Elfman.
Without him, we wouldn't have the Batman animated theme song.
I think it's safe to say
2002 Spider-Man. As I don't care, that is a great theme because it's in 3/4 and it just start and then it switches over to. It's pretty cool.
I see your Spider-Man and I raise you X-Men, the animated series.
I see
Yes,
X-Men,
sir.
and I'll raise you Oingo Boingo. or I lower you. I'm not sure, depending on how you stand with
Oingo
But
Boingo, the JoJo characters, or Oingo Boingo,
that.
the
Band,
band?
any Elfman's 80s band.
oh yeah,
Then lower.
we don't talk about them.
like
But
some of
if we're talking,
It's kind of interesting that all these JoJo characters are named after musicians,
yeah,
and it pisses me off that we don't have one Billy Joel inspired character. What's up with
Well,
that?
Well, maybe because we need more alcoholics. And sorry, Billy.
No, or even better, let's have a Kanye West character.
no.
Okay, whoa.
What's your stand?
The show
His
is-
name is Yeezy.
The show is called The Axis Powers. The Axis Black Power. You know what I mean?
But
Behold, my stand, fish stick.
That's it. That's the one. But in terms of movie scoring, what's interesting, that's one of the few types where media and art collide, because George Lucas, in terms of Star Wars in particular, they make the composer, they go, hey, here's the clips, here's the storyline, here's who the characters are, and then the composer then writes the piece based on what it is best interpreted. And I believe he went to George Lucas and said, hey, originally he said, I can't work on this movie. And George was like, well, why? Because I can't make the soundtrack you want because all the people that are capable of doing it are dead. So,
yeah,
but he did it and he nailed it. He knocked it out of the park. And so when you have a story that is compelling, I mean, I'm a firm believer that music is there. It tells a story, whether that story is about, getting smashed at the pub and, going back with this chick, or like, serious mental health. It's a tale as old as time, right? It's a tale as old as our needs.
Has Bob's been around anyway.
Yeah. But I think that is why you get a lot of originality, because it's one artist's interpretation of another artist's interpretation of another artist's interpretation, because Star Wars is the monolith. It's the hero's journey. So it is George Lucas's take on the hero's journey, and it's John Williams' take on George Lucas's take of the hero's journey, which goes back to Greek mythology and all these sorts of things. So
whereas if you want to compare that to another instance of the hero's journey, Peter Jackson writing Lord of the Rings,
there you go. That's another one.
going to I think it was Hans Zimmer who did that.
It was, yes.
Okay, and him looking at him,
Zimmerman, but yes.
yes, but Hans Zimmerman, him looking at Hans Zimmerman and being like, I need you to do the music for this. Like,
Or yeah, sorry, I'm gonna go ahead.
It's like you said, like it's Hans Zimmer telling Peter Jackson's story of J.R.R. Tolkien's story.
It's a big gumbo of melding different ideas, and I think that is originality, because in art, I firmly believe that there is truly nothing that is uninspired. It's like matter. It can't be created nor destroyed. You have to see something and you go, oh, this is how that's what art is. And that's what music is. And that's what film and TV and comics and video games are. It's all like, hey, here is my idea of this. And there might be little hints of something that's never truly been done before, or maybe that may mean what's presented to the public, but that doesn't necessarily preclude it from being that originality is just everything in it.
Kind of leaning into what you're saying. I definitely think like it's one of the reasons why music is paired so well with that type of stuff, because like Avengers Endgame, the final showdown between them and Thanos, Alan Silvestri's score of that is the thing that will always play in my mind when I see that scene. I can't sit there and be like, well, I'm going to take music from The Dark Knight and plug it in, and because it's just going to feel wrong.
You don't sample in movie scores.
Just like Joker's "Why So Serious" speech, I can't take the Imperial March from Star Wars and plug that in, because it doesn't work.
It would not work.
Or I mean, if we're going to go back to Transformers again, the original animated 80s film, Vince DiCola did a phenomenal job with that scoring as well.
Yes.
Or, in fact, this is actually a good time to announce, we just have confirmed that we have our score artist for our X-Men series.
Woo! Heck yeah, that's awesome, dude.
Yeah. Don't want to give any spoilers, but we look very forward to having him. I will tag him in this episode when I announce it later today.
I can't wait to find out.
But it's funny, we have two forms of originality when it comes to music. We do have the score, and we do have the lyrical stuff, like you see in all the Disney movies.
Yeah.
Like your Oliver and Companies, your Little Mermaids, Great Mouse Detectives, Well,
Oh.
not as much, but still
And also-
as enough to count.
It's funny you bring up the difference in lyrical and instrumental. I think that a lot of instrumental music, when it's done properly, almost lends itself to a somewhat lyrical thing, because at the end of the day, like I said, music, in my opinion, is about storytelling. And you listen to like Leia's theme. There's no words said, but you can feel what's being said. And the same goes for like Eric Johnson's Cliffs of Dover is another song where it's instrumental, but his guitar is telling you, okay, I can kind of interpret what's going on here. And whether that's right or wrong, the same can be said about lyrical music. You can have a set of lyrics to mean one thing. Like, I think a perfect example, Smells Like Teen Spirit or anything Nirvana wrote. People go, it's this or it's about that. And Kurt's just like, I just strung something together, man.
Shit, the greatest example of that is In the Air Tonight by
that has
Genesis.
well, that's a Phil Collins.
Yeah.
But people will put their own interpretation on it, whether you spoon feed them this is exactly what it is or not, because that's the human condition.
Even to foreign films like Princess Mononoke, that had a phenomenal scoring.
Yes, it did. Any movie done by Studio Ghibli.
Well, that's what
not
they said.
any movie. There were some that were less than great,
I'm
but I would say at least 95% of those films were phenomenal.
I'm also looking at it. The one thing that I feel like Studio
I
Ghibli.
think if we're going to be exact, any film done by Hayao Miyazaki.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
that's kind of like painting with a broad brush. It's like saying any Disney film is automatically going to be great.
Well, I was looking at it more from a musical perspective, because that is the one thing I feel like Studio Ghibli always delivers on is music. The music really ties into the story itself. Now, whether or not the movie itself is good or the structure or anything is good, like that is obviously
you can take the music from all those
that
and
is-
like it's still solid.
yeah, that is up to interpretation. But the cool thing is like I can sit down and listen to a Studio Ghibli. Great example, Spirited Away. I've listened to that soundtrack.
I feel like it's the GIF argument all over again.
Yeah, but I've always heard it as Studio Ghibli, so that's how I pronounce. That's how I refer to it. If I'm wrong, go ahead and roast me.
Put him on Family Guy.
Yeah,
That's pronouncing.
put me on South Park.
Yeah, there you go.
But like with those movies and all that type of stuff, I could sit down and listen to the soundtrack, and I can honestly still get like independently like a story in and of itself.
That's why music is the universal language.
Yep.
That in the middle
It
finger.
really is. I mean, and if you're looking for a great series that's pretty much just all instrumental music, it's kind of like the easiest way I can say this. It's like an animated War of the Worlds, but it's kind of like it takes place in the Savage Lands.
Mm-hmm.
Primal.
Yes.
I've actually heard of that. I want to see that.
Well, like our early cartoons, like really highlighted that type of stuff too. Tom and Jerry for the longest time didn't have any words, period.
That's true.
Literally,
Very true.
it was
Bonk noises and music.
well, it was the sound effects, obviously, but like Jerry the mouse in particular, if he started laughing, what you heard was the violins, or if Tom like sitting there running, you heard the scurrying of the music and all that type of stuff. The music was the story. The music was them communicating and talking.
And
with
that's
one
another
another.
thing that George Lucas, going back to Star Wars, said he views music as dialogue, and I think that's awesome because that's a very interesting way to look at it. But yeah, you're right. You know, if there is a scene that's you know, in Tom and Jerry, for example, that was like a startling, like, you know, Tom is startled because Jerry's running at him with something, you know, as they do in the show. Whereas, you know, the mouse is more intimidating than the cat, and that's kind of the point of the joke. But you would hear some sort of percussiveness or a really sharp sound, whether it be from a violin or whatever.
Horror uses that a lot.
Yeah, I mean, a Psycho comes to mind, obviously.
Or if we're
But
going to go back to other countries, Peter and the Wolf is a phenomenal example.
yeah.
That's a good one.
It's all about like coloring the music with emotion, and that's a trick that even goes into pop music, because in Crying by Roy Orbison, the violin sort of is lending itself to that vibe. Other than obviously he's got a crooner's voice. He's basically Roy. In my opinion, Roy is a like a Sinatra era that was just born too late. You know.
If we're going to use also international stuff, I feel like K-pop does that a lot too.
It does.
You're familiar with K-pop, so I wouldn't be able to comment on that appropriately.
It's kind of like, I feel like, and I'm probably gonna get butchered. It's like beyond J-pop.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
you definitely see there's a lot of inspiration from Japanese music, but it still retains its own thing.
Yeah, but I also feel like that would turn into the meme from Suicide Squad of Idris Elba being like, he does what I do,
But better, yeah.
I'm walking out, but I do it better. Feel free to roast.
No, I can definitely see that. Like,
The numbers are
this
on
form
your
of
side.
Japanese music usually does come from anime theme songs and
Yeah.
the like, as opposed to original songs
Yeah,
outside from that. Whereas good K-pop songs just come from K-pop bands,
yeah.
which thought occurs, Squid Game, that definitely had some intense songs in there.
Yes, it
Especially the
did.
theme song.
I'm gonna get killed for this. I haven't seen it yet. You know?
The original show where that god awful Squid Game challenge where people don't actually die.
Neither. I don't.
We're working on it.
Listen,
He's not much of a
But you know,
TV
it's
guy.
okay. I actually, when I did my Squid Game challenge,
Mhm.
and I reached out to my previous guests, one of which was Greg Wiseman, who you may recognize as the creator of Gargoyles.
Yeah, actually, I do.
I've never watched Squid Games, nor do I have the intention of doing so, and I don't feel comfortable selecting a character to compete.
I mean, that's fair. It's like people who were doing the freaking Stranger Things challenge and all that when that was first big in TikTok.
What is that?
It was like
still with
it was something that was referring to the Upside Down. It was dumb as shit.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's just another good example.
Mhm.
But I mean, it's definitely music, regardless of where you are, has proven to be an instrumental thing.
Oh yeah.
No pun intended.
But can music be made better? Like, okay, with Billy Joel's, one of his more iconic songs is "We Didn't Start the Fire," and a lot of the stuff that happened, I'm not sure if it was in chronological order.
Mostly.
Mostly, yeah. I mean, you see stuff on Disneyland, Peter Pan.
You just got to do it.
A whole bunch of stuff. I can't English today.
You're fine.
Several different presidents,
Yeah,
but then we see the Fall Out Boy version
which slaps.
in a good way.
It does in a very good way, and I think it captured. I like the fact that it essentially took Billy Joel's formula and made it modernized. But one of the reasons they made, especially since like at the end of the day, if you listen to it, how it's designed, how it's built, and everything, it is Billy Joel's "We Didn't Start the Fire." The only thing that really changed was the lyrics.
Yeah.
Well,
And they
I
made
say,
it a little.
oh, hey, this is a Reuben. Oh, great. Hey, where's the corned beef? Oh, no, we're just using pastrami.
I mean, yeah, and you can make an argument about that as well. It's just
Never
me personally.
understood that,
I feel
by the
like. No, what's up?
Never understood that, by the way.
I didn't. I don't either. If I'm being 100% honest with you, but in the case of like Fall Out Boy, and it might have been. I like how it was. I refer to it as what is called an original remake.
That's kind of a contradiction, isn't like
It is.
kosher pork chops.
It is, but at the exact same time, it's the equivalency of essentially taking something that is in and of itself like in the broad spectrum of things a remake, but doing it in a way that almost makes it original, or bare minimum it makes it more your thing. Because at the end of the day, I can listen to Billy Joel's "We Didn't Start the Fire" all the freaking time, and I can listen to Fall Out Boys. And the thing is while they both sound the same structurally, the lyrics are the thing that make it change.
So kind of like how Transformers and Beast Wars are essentially the same show, but Beast Wars do have several things that are different than Transformers.
Yes, it's structurally speaking, it's basically. I'm probably gonna get roasted for this. Structurally speaking, yeah, they're basically the same thing.
I mean,
But
just
the
the
nice,
truth.
but it's the little details between the two of them that make it different, and that's what makes it an original thing, in my personal opinion.
I
It's, and with Fall Out Boys, We Didn't Start the Fire. Again, at the end of the day, yes, it is a remake, but they were able to essentially strip just about every single lyric that made it Billy Joel's and turned it into something that we could relate to, because I can't relate to Billy Joel's We Didn't Start the Fire. I wasn't there for a lot of the hot topics that he was discussing, but everything that Fall Out Boy brought out in their version, I remember every single thing they were freaking talking
And
It
about.
sounds like Ghost Stories, the anime.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, here's the Japanese version. It's like, yeah, we can relate to this. Let's just give them the South Park-esque version, where we just
Yeah.
have the kids go completely off the rails for no other than reason, because we have complete creative liberties to do so.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I was going to say. I feel like that the lyric content is what lends itself to more of an emotional pull for certain people. Because let's be honest, that song, We Didn't Start the Fire, is generational. It is social commentary about the things that everyone in Billy Joel's generation that grew up with understood. So that's not only because of it's a great melody. And, you know, and I'll stand by this maxim: melody over lyrics. Because if you're in a foreign country, they don't speak English, or they don't speak Spanish or Portuguese or anything like that, but they will sing the melody. They know the melody. So it's all about in here. So it's a great melody. It's a pop hit. You can't argue that. The numbers will fight you all day. But I think in terms of people that are in our generation, definitely can relate more to the lyrical content of the Fall Out Boy version. And I think that also lends itself to somewhat of a special connection, regardless if it's the same song or it's essentially a cover. But you can't say that it's a ripoff, because it's done intentionally to say, hey, we're going to do this version of that. It's not like hidden or disguised to be something that it isn't, or that it's something different. But I think, you know, in terms of
that just
original, what?
In terms of originality,
Originality, I think that at the end of the day, music is, and art in general is subjective. So, you know, I prefer the Billy Joel version, not because I can relate to it, just because I'm a huge classic rock freak, and there's something about the sound of it. You know, some things are inexplicable. Some things you cannot explain why you like it. It's just something that tickles that part of the brain that just goes, give me more of that.
you mean like when people laugh at their own jokes, like they can't explain why they do it?
No, that just is a lack of therapy.
Well, no, it's all that, and also just the factor of just like he said, like people laughing at their own jokes. It's subjective. I might find it hilarious. You might think it's dumb as hell.
Personally,
Also-
I think it's kind of counterintuitive. Like, if you're telling a joke, it's obviously funny.
Well-
A chuckle you can give, or maybe a little, but just to laugh at it like a freaking hyena.
But see, what if
I don't understand? Or posting something on social media and then hitting the like button.
Yeah,
that's different? That to me is a cardinal sin. But here's the thing.
that's like stroking your own ego.
No, that
It
literally
really
is.
is. It's like, hey mom, do we have any old pictures of me? Why, honey? No reason.
But in terms of people like using that example, laughing at a joke, I like to sort of look at things in like a 3-dimensional, 4-dimensional kind of thing. Some people will do that because that is the point. They're trying to make you uncomfortable, or they're trying to make a point that, hey, this is what it's almost satirical. Like, I think a really good, I guess, example of this is one of my favorite guys, who's one of my favorite entertainers of all time, David Lee Roth. He has a podcast called The Roth Show, and he will just talk to himself or his producer for a while, and he'll laugh at his own jokes. And sometimes he is being an egomaniac, but other times he's doing it because he's saying he's not really laughing at his joke. He's laughing at what he's talking about because it's absurd. And I think that, you know, all that glitters is not gold, right? So be careful in terms of, you know, I don't really like overgeneralization statements. I like to think, okay, well, why? What is the intent behind doing something, right? What is the person or the entity that is performing this act, if it is an act. I think Norm Macdonald's a good example, right? He would tell jokes
Power.
really bad on purpose because he knows that the joke itself isn't funny, but the fact that he's wasted your time, or the fact that he zigged when you thought he was going to zag, that's the joke, and he got you. But he doesn't, and that's what's funny to him, right? But the rest of people that are not aware of what's happening, they're like, this isn't funny, I don't get it. But that's the point. So it's sort of like that avant-garde, coming at it from a very strange angle way. And that's the stuff that I actually...
First off, comparing Norm Macdonald to your average Joe on the street is comparing a steak à poivre to Salisbury steak. You just can't do that.
I think you misinterpret what I'm saying. I'm not comparing Norm Macdonald to an average Joe. I'm saying what Norm is doing could be looked at from an average person's perspective as not funny. But someone who is understanding of what he's doing, they might get it. However, the average person also might get it, regardless if they're aware of it or not. But that's sort of, again, no metaphysics before happy hour. That's kind of what I was saying.
That said, I mean, the way he delivers it and his tone himself, he can make freaking Hitler's speech seem like the funniest thing you'll ever hear.
And that's just Norm, though. He has that gift. He had that gift. For God,
For the record, not supporting the Holocaust or anything, but that's just an example.
Right. No, yeah. But Norm would go there. He would go there. Like, one of my favorite jokes of his was on his podcast. He would always go, I'm doing my best Norm impression. That Hitler guy, the more I learn about him, the less I care for him. It's not like he's just a like an asshole, but it's like he's Hitler. But it's like he's saying, I don't care for him.
Did some voiceover work, but as far as that goes, I really enjoyed him as Pigeon for the Mike Tyson.
Oh god, him and Mike were really good friends, and I think that in itself is hilarious. Mike Tyson and Norm Macdonald were buddies.
Oh yeah, no, there's some people that you just sit down and you just realize that they are best friends with one another, and you're like,
you mean like Adam Sandler and all of the people he has in his movies?
Yeah. Like the fact that he was such good friends with the original host of The Price is Right. To the point where he was able to get him to feature in Happy Gilmore, like, where does that make sense?
That would explain that. I was wondering how was he able to get around with beating him.
Well, one of the other reasons is also because of the fact of the I don't know why his name is blanking, but. Thank you. But one of the reasons why Bob was so okay with it was actually because of the fact of he was a huge Adam Sandler fan. Yeah. He really loved his movies. He openly said one of his favorite movies.
Was also great in Adam Sandler's work.
Who?
Chris Farley.
Oh, yes. Well, you're talking about
Rest in
legends
power.
now.
Of course, then he got replaced with another fat guy, Kevin James.
Yeah.
Was arguably less funny.
Yeah, and like,
no, he's less funny. You can't compare.
Yeah, he's come on. It's Chris Farley, man. He's one of the greatest.
I'm sorry. Like, that's like you said. That's like you said though. That's like comparing filet mignon to Salisbury steak.
Yeah.
I said steak à poivre, but yeah.
Oh, well,
okay. All right.
So, I'm sorry.
But I mean, if we're gonna talk cuts of meat, or at least styles of meat, steak à poivre to a McDonald's hamburger.
Yeah.
Although, I'll say this, I'll venture this. Given the right setting, the McDonald's hit different. You know what I mean?
Yeah, when you're stoned, or when you're traveling somewhere, or back when March comes around and they bring back the Shamrock Shake or the rib something.
The McRib.
Yeah, the McRib. It's like the stepdad. Most of the year it's gone, but when it comes back, it really makes a difference.
Yeah, well,
here's $5, Billy.
Hey!
I spent that $5. I can't tell you what.
Well, in kind of a defense of both of you guys, like the whole traveling thing and all that type of stuff, it really lends itself to like perspective is everything and location is everything. Because in Korea, McDonald's, like, the food looks like the picture.
Yeah.
Whereas here,
they just frisbee it at you. And it's like a hockey puck.
Yeah, you look at it and you're just like, this looks nothing like. I'm still gonna eat it.
I paid the $4.
Yeah, I gave it my $5.
I don't want to deal with the dude when I drive back and they're gonna give me a worse one.
Yeah, so I'm still gonna eat it, but this doesn't look anything like it. But in Korea, like, you look at it and it looks like the picture. It looks like the food that they promote in the commercials and everything along those lines. So in that instance in particular, I feel like it's location and perspective.
Yeah,
I mean,
for
we're
sure.
going to talk about image. A lot of the times when music, for example, when any form of media, like a movie or a TV show, they usually get the best music out there.
Yeah. No questions asked.
Like, I remember way back watching those old VHS DVDs. They were showing Oliver and Company. They were talking about all the guest celebrities. They were mentioning Billy Joel. And
Yep.
then you see Dodger singing Why Should I Worry?
Yeah.
Which obviously is the highlight song, because every Disney movie has that one highlight song.
Yeah.
I mean, some are debatable, others aren't.
For Moana, easily, I think everybody will agree that the highlight song of that is probably You're Welcome. But that's a personal opinion. Whenever I bring up Moana, that's the song that's always brought up is You're Welcome.
Frozen is definitely Let It Go.
Yeah.
No
Whereas
way.
Mulan, there's probably like a bit of a debate.
There's no debate. It's definitely I'll Make a Man Out of You.
Yeah.
Well,
that's mine.
again, it goes back to the whole perspective thing, because some people might say Reflection,
Yeah.
Little Mermaid, Under the Sea. It could be an art. Some people could say Under the Sea. Some people could say Part of Your World. Some people could say Kiss the Girl.
I'm going with Under the Sea.
Well, it wouldn't be Kiss the Girl anymore because they nixed it in the reboot.
Yeah, I know.
It wouldn't be Le Poisson either for the same reason.
Yeah,
Damn
but
you, cancel culture.
or in the case of going back to what we were talking about earlier,
Oh,
we're
but
talking
yeah,
about
you can have an Aquafina rap song in that. Yeah, that makes sense.
yeah. But going back to but going back to like the Lion King and all that type of stuff. Gods.
Obviously, Circle of Life. No, there's no doubt about it.
Matata means no worries.
Hakuna Matata, or
Yeah, but I mean, wasn't it the opening and closing song?
yes,
That's
but at the
just-
same
but
time, that
just-
doesn't mean it was that. I'm gonna get
What's the
roasted for this.
takeaway? What's
that
the takeaway,
that doesn't mean it was the best song.
I mean, you could argue the same with Star Wars, right? It opens with the main theme, but you ask him on the street, I mean, you're going to get a 50-50 between Imperial March and the main theme. So it's like, what's really the takeaway? And
Or
I
the
think-
Force theme.
Or the Force theme, right? So I think some people, it's all about not a collective, but it's a single person's takeaway of the thing. To
So
that,
stand on Tarzan.
Oh God!
dude, don't.
Entire album.
Damn, the
Entire
whole
album
thing,
is
the whole
fire.
thing.
The
Oh,
entire
no,
album.
You're bringing this up. I want to hear this.
Okay,
Tarzan.
he's issuing us a challenge. Okay,
All right, I'm
so
giving you a challenge.
I'm gonna say for me, it's an emotional thing because I loved Tarzan as a kid, and I watched it religiously up until I was
You're letting the hair grow. You're doing the whole in homage to Tarzan thing.
a Tarzan. Listen.
We're the before and after.
I'm him. Okay, I am. What I took a DNA test. I'm 100% Himalayan. I am him Kardashian. I am the Himulation.
Okay.
I am Timon and Pumbaa.
Nice.
But I'll say
me
this,
per- me
go
per-
ahead, you go with your fill one.
me personally, if I had to pick a song from Tarzan, which is very difficult, especially since I did the camp song, the NSYNC Phil Collins version. My choir actually did that back in high
That's
school.
cool.
Trash in the Camp.
Yes, thank you. Trash in the Camp. That song slaps.
Love that one.
Although
Even though it
the
was never technically in it, it was in the soundtrack.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I can, let's count that for the sake of our
I think
novelty.
we should count
We'll count it. We'll
They
count
put
it.
effort into it.
As well, even the one that was in the movie, like that version was phenomenal too, just because of how
Yeah.
fun it was. But
That
if
was
I
also visual too. It's a
if I
visual
if I had to pick one,
That was actually in the movie.
yeah, shit. Honestly, the first one that pops in my head because I love the original version just as much as I love like Jonathan Young and Peyton Parrish's version, Son of Man.
Oh,
That was a good one.
That one is a banger, but also at the same time, like it's hard for me to choose because You'll Be in My Heart, especially the version that Glenn Close sings, because it feels a lot more intimate.
Oh yeah.
But if I had to pick, it would probably have to be Son of Man.
You know, it's funny. I think Tarzan is possibly the only Disney film where we see one person doing all the songs, Phil Collins.
I believe so.
Yeah.
Well, that man's a powerhouse. But for me, it's
I
really
mean, he
hard.
also did Brother Bear, but he doesn't get as much credit for that.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, everybody did. But to be fair, it
Yeah.
wasn't in the same. The Disney Renaissance is arguably the window of Disney's best films.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Arguably.
I'd say it's kind of a toss up between two for Tarzan. Strangers Like Me is a fantastic song. It's
yes.
it's really good. You'll Be in My Heart is something that's emotionally close to me because I'm adopted. Me and my sister are both adopted from Colombia, and so and so that really, and actually it was my sister used that song "You'll Be in My Heart" at her wedding. So it's obviously.
That's really heartwarming.
Me and my family,
sweet.
that song is like really close. But Strangers Like Me speaks to me on another level too, because I've always been something of an outcast as well. So I think all musicians in there, right, all creatives, all people like us, sort of have that sense of community within ourselves and within the people that are different and don't follow along the beaten path and go down the yellow brick road. So I don't know. Both of them are really tough for me to pick, but and I don't think that.
I feel like this is the one instance where we will allow you a tie.
I think
because both of them are insanely sentimental.
Yeah, and not only that, like it's one of
also written by the same guy. So
yeah, fair.
And let's be real, Phil Collins is one of the greatest musicians.
And no matter what he does, I still can't think of that South Park episode where Timmy was introduced. Like,
oh my god!
I'd be making fun of what was it, mental
people? Yeah.
Timmy, hey, Richard.
But yeah,
Lords of the underworld.
I guess it depends on the mood I'm in. If I'm ready to like go out and do something, Strangers Like Me. But if I'm feeling a little more, interpersonal, it's Strangers Like sorry, You'll Be in My Heart. But I don't know. It's tough for me to pick. But I if I must stand and make a decision, I feel like You'll Be in My Heart just has that just a bit of an edge over Strangers Like Me because
there were other movies in that time era that aren't really considered musicals. You got Hunchback of Notre Dame.
That's another one.
Oh my god, that movie was amazing.
Oh my god, yeah, it's like I feel like that's the one movie everybody forgets is a Disney movie because that's how dark it is. That's like
it's real. It got really real.
That's
very
like DreamWorks dark.
Oh yeah.
Oh god, I don't get DreamWorks dark. Don't talk about DreamWorks dark.
Or if we really want to dive into modern movies, Pixar.
Freaking Pocahontas.
Yeah.
They had some songs, but not really.
The animation in Pocahontas is one of my favorites. It's so interesting.
Yeah.
You know?
And then there was what was the other one? Hercules.
Hercules, yeah.
Hercules.
1 or 2.
One.
Yeah, 1.
Not even a question.
Two is okay.
A couple, yes. Even then, I can't think of Hercules without thinking of what's that Eddie Murphy movie where they're all fat, played with his
Nutty Professor.
Yeah, I can't think. Hercules. But last major Renaissance, Aladdin. And this is an emotional one because we lost 2 great.
Oh yeah, Robin Williams. Yeah,
Robin Williams.
And Gilbert Gottfried.
And Gilbert Godfrey, yeah. And Gilbert, it wasn't weird because like Gilbert was another friend of Norm Macdonald's. We lost Norm Macdonald, or we lost Bob Saget, Norm, and then I have to probably get the order wrong. It was like Norm, Gilbert, and Bob Saget, all in like a string of like a few weeks, and they all were like close friends with each other. I'm like, that's weird, but that's besides the point.
Ironically,
it's a movie thing. It's like, it's like, those movies where we made this pact to bury this body and never talk about it.
Yeah.
The body comes up and then starts killing people.
Oh well, yeah.
Ironically,
I was thinking Stand By Me, but sure, yeah. That.
Ironically enough, Aladdin. So like, I'm primarily a musician, but Aladdin was the movie that really got me into like doing impressions and as much I've never done voiceover work. I'd love to do it at some point, but
plenty of roles for the X-Men series if you ever wanted to try something for that.
I'm not against that.
This guy, he's an actor.
But my what?
You say that many of the best musicians do become voice actors.
Yeah,
he was a phenomenal example in in Oliver and Company. trying to think of another good example.
There's
Katy Perry, I think she was
Yeah.
Bet or something.
Yes, she was. There's actually a lot of musicians that ended
Pretty
up
much
blending.
everybody in Hell of Boston Has Been Hotel.
Yeah. But like Aladdin in particular was the because Aladdin is hands down my all-time favorite Disney movie,
Which,
and
funny
it
enough, has a bunch of Aladdin actors, either
Mhm.
from the original movie or the Broadway version.
yeah. But in the case of Aladdin, that was the movie that really got me into like impressions, which in turn, ironically enough, lended itself into music because learning how to change my voice to sound like other people, whether I'm sitting here trying to sound like Kermit the Frog, which is one of the weirdest voices that I can do, but everybody just seems to really like it.
Sound like a drummer I know.
And then just flip it, and then flipping it around and
Do it. He's gonna do
and then going to SpongeBob and being like, "Welcome to the Salty Spittoon. How tough are you?"
Ah,
Literally, I could do that entire scene just by myself and just going back and forth. Just how tough am I? I ate an entire bowl of nails this morning. Yes, so without any milk. Oh, right this way. So sorry to keep you waiting.
well, apparently this counts as your demo reel.
But the thing,
available for weddings, bar mitzvahs.
but ironically enough, just for some freaking reason, like ended up tying into music, especially since my choral teacher was very adamant on us learning multiple genres. So I was able to take the stuff that I learned from doing impressions and literally learn how to apply it to music to the point where I could do multiple genres, where I could actually like sing multiple genres. And that's honestly one of the reasons why when Robin Williams died, it hit me so freaking hard because Robin Williams was my idol.
It still hits me hard.
It really does.
So
Like,
saying, so is it a safe bet that either Prince Ali or Friend Like Me is your favorite song?
Friend Like Me. Friend Like Me will always be to the point where, like, when I was doing the acting stuff, whenever I auditioned for a musical, I used Friend Like Me as my audition piece. If I was trying to apply for a more comedic role, because of the fact that it gives me the opportunity to show that I can do multiple different voices at a time, to kind of just be like, hey, I can kind of be wherever the hell you want me to be. Just give me a job. I need to eat.
I mean, Genie himself is kind of a paradox.
Yeah.
He was an original character while simultaneously not being an original character.
Yeah. And I absolutely loved that about him. And I just loved the fact that just ironic. I love the fact that he wasn't really an original character, but Robin Williams being Robin Williams made him an original character. I also love the fact that the opening scene, they have about 3 to 4 hours of that opening scene because what they did was they took him into a soundstage.
They just turn the mic on. It's like, okay, go.
No, so that entire scene of him, so like the combination hookah and coffee maker also makes French fries.
Yeah.
Literally all he did was they put him in a soundstage and they put him in front of a table with the cover on it, with the tablecloth, and they were like, "Cool, you need to start with these lines. After that, do whatever the hell you want." And
that's such a Robin thing. It's like with Don Rickles. You don't give him lines.
Yeah,
Just
and
let
so
him
he
improv.
literally just riffed. And like the funniest part about that is just the whole part of it will not break, it broke. Like the funniest part about that is the fact that he probably actually broke the
sure.
damn
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
But literally it was just him reaching under the tablecloth, grabbing something and just being like, I can do something with this.
That's his jumping off point.
The Dead Sea Tupperware was literally just him grabbing an empty box and just going, let's listen. Still good.
That's kind of all the impressions he did. Jack Nicholson, Rodney Dangerfield,
Yeah.
Robert
Gee,
De Niro, I believe.
Yes, he did do Robert De Niro at one point. Stop her! You want me to sting her?
He did a ventriloquist.
He was a ventriloquist. He he went all over the freaking place. There were several points where like apparently like Disney had to tell him to maybe back off a little bit. Because he's
funny enough, it couldn't win Best Original Script because of all the improv that was being done for it.
yeah, that was the funniest part. I love the fact that it had so much improv stuff that like it literally shot itself in the foot for Best Original Script. But also at the same time, do we really give a shit? Like the improv was the thing that made the movie.
Which is why it also broke my heart that they got Will Smith to do Genie for the live action.
Hey,
He did okay.
If I'm gonna rank genies, it would be Robin Williams on top, followed by James Monroe Iglehart from the Broadway show.
Yeah,
The Japanese version, I've seen the Japanese version.
I have not actually.
It was an interesting take. Followed by Dan Castellaneta.
Yeah, that's fair.
Followed by the second Broadway Genie. And then Will Smith.
I'm gonna need you to keep my genie's name out your fucking mouth.
Come on, man. Why you gotta do that to him?
No, it was appropriate.
Don't make wishes in front of white people.
Stop.
Did you see the Chris Rock special on Netflix?
I gotta see that special.
Dude.
It's
if
brutal.
you're talking about the best way to respond to that, that's it. Textbook definition. Just checkmate.
To be fair, like the way that he did it in the moment too was great. I just got the shit sucked out.
I actually kind of paid homage to that, where Peter, starts making jokes about Chris.
Yeah.
And then in the next room, Chris bitch slaps him. And he says, "Keep my name out your fucking mouth."
God.
And you know what's funny about that whole thing?
Hmm.
Will Smith was actually laughing at the joke.
Yeah, it was Jada that didn't like it.
Yeah, that was the funny part about it.
Execute Order 66.
It's the funniest.
Yeah. Legit though.
Oh my, the time has come. But like, no,
all gods must die.
That's the funny part, but it's also the sad part. That's just sad. You know what I mean? Like, dude, come on. Like, I mean, I'm not in his shoes. You know, I can't. I'm not the man.
Can you say whipped?
Yeah, and like, dude, I don't know. It was a G.I. Jane joke.
Like, come on, dude. Well, my whole thing is just the factor of like comedy in and of itself is
the point of comedy, and I saw this in a Duckman episode, is
great way
challenges the way people think.
Yeah, honestly. And one of the reasons that it's so good at challenging people and the way that they think is because of the fact of it's able to make you look at it from a completely different perspective.
Yeah, comedy.
Granted, a good portion of it is either shock value, it is satire, parody.
The same thing can be said about music a lot too.
Honestly,
Weird Al Yankovic.
Well, Weird Al, but I'm talking. That's another good example. But I was thinking more like Blink-182's video for All the Small Things was making fun of boy bands, which were huge at the time. Yeah. But the song is a banger, obviously. But,
I Feel Like Dancing by All Time Low.
Yeah.
The music video is literally making fun of the music industry.
Go ahead.
Even Weird Al Yankovic, one of the most well-known parody musicians in existence, makes fun of himself by making fun of himself. He sings the song "Dare to Be Stupid." In Transformers the movie. But in Transformers Animated, he also voices Wreck-Gar. And in the episode, he's like, Ratchet says to him, "You can't be this stupid." Then Wreck-Gar says, "Don't you know? I dare to be stupid." Obviously doing a callback while insulting himself.
Yeah, and the sort of the beautiful. I think it's easily one of the most beautiful things about music is just the fact
you can make a point without even making it the point.
Oh yeah,
Ain't Talking About Love was Eddie was making fun of all the punk rock guitarists because they only used 2 chords.
I'm sorry, did you say Eddie Love or Any Love?
Eddie. Ain't Talking About Love by Van Halen was Eddie Van Halen's way of like sort of satirizing punk rock music at the time, which according to him, which is also based in some truth, that they only really used 2 chords. So it's A minor and G, and it just goes back, da, 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 but of course it's Eddie. He can't leave well enough alone, so he's got to make it all this crazy stuff.
Oh,
But
yeah.
at the end of the day, he was kind of making fun of punk rock chord progressions, and it's just things like that where it's like you can either be super obvious that it's trying to make fun of something, or it's supposed to be an homage to something like the Fall Out Boy, we didn't start the fire, or it could be something that's like, let's just do this, but the lyrical content of Ain't Talking About Love has nothing to do with like satirizing punk rock music.
Right,
So
and then there's country and rap that basically sticks to the same thing. Country
Yeah.
is just basically beer, women.
it depends on the country you're
And then
talking.
there's rap, which is basically beer, women.
Except it's liquor, and
Except
so
one sung by black people and the other sung by white people.
unless you're Darius Rucker,
Yeah.
and then you get pulled over for
or
having weed.
or and I know this is kind of controversial, Eminem.
Well, what's controversial? He's white.
Oh, yeah, then he's
Eminem's
white. Yeah,
a
he's white. He's white. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was gonna say it depends on the country because you're talking to a Johnny Cash fan here, and I consider a lot of Johnny stuff. I said a lot of Johnny stuff, country and rock and roll. Depends on the thing because he played some gospel music, and Johnny stuff, what separates him from a lot of it, is about killing folks. And we got going to prison, a big prison advocate. Think of the lyric, I shot a man in Reno just to watch him die. You say that back in 1965. Oh my God, why would you ever do that? And he did it. And he's wearing the all black thing. So like in terms of country, and I'd say 1994 and on is when the whole tropic modern like meme country jokes start to pop up. I got me a truck and a beer, and I can say that because I am in Virginia.
My
right
woman
now.
left me.
My woman left me, but I don't care because I got my truck and my
Howdy,
boat.
folks. My name is Billy Bob Joe. Little country man.
Going to the Dimsdale Dimmadome.
It's honestly one of the reasons I kind of like Brad. My dad's side of the family is from West Virginia. It's honestly one of the reasons why I kind of like Brad Paisley a little bit is because like he does traditional country songs, but he also does songs that make fun of country
Yeah,
songs.
he's self-aware.
I mean,
Like,
that's another good reason why we have good comedy, as long as it's self-aware, like South Park is. Like when they did the Family Guy thing, which is banned because Muhammad.
Yeah.
Oh
They
yeah.
said, sometimes I just want a stupid joke. I don't need a show that's all preachy and hide full of itself.
Yeah.
Why do you think Motley Crue is so successful? They weren't necessarily. Wildside was talking about like crime and things in this, but then you have Girls, which you don't have to be a forensic scientist to understand what that song's about.
Yeah.
We know the resume of that band, but it's sort of things that people like a good
Even
balance.
some songs are basically exactly what they're talking about in the title.
Yeah.
Girls just want to have fun.
Yeah.
Anthony's song. Tequila.
I never could understand Tequila, but I may be dead.
Those are some very hard beats to follow.
They really are.
But what I was gonna say was I think everybody in terms of all forms of media need a good balance of seriousness and relief, and that's why we have different categories. We have comedies, and then we have dramas, and we have heavy metal, and then we have pop music, and then you have
And some are just hybrids.
SpongeBob, and then you have Grey's Anatomy. Although I don't know. But you have I don't know. You have there. That's there, and then we push that to the side.
And then, like you said, that there are hybrids. Like if we're going music, great examples. Bring Me the Horizon. How they combine
Yeah.
they
have a
combine
lot of humor in their thing.
in terms of like blending stuff together, they have a lot of techno as well as a lot of metal. Or in the case of TV shows, if we're talking like Grey's Anatomy and SpongeBob or something along those lines, you have a TV show like Scrubs.
Yeah, it's kind of the best
Which,
of both.
ironically enough, I actually have quite a few friends of mine who are nurses. They have openly told me that Scrubs is one of the most accurate,
my sister's
one of the
a nurse.
most super accurate depictions of what it's like to be a
It's
nurse.
so straight up.
But like, and I think that going back to the original topic of originality, I honestly think that's one of the things that helps lend itself to be original is
You mean
when
like
you are,
every love song that's named after a girl?
yeah.
Rocks.
To the point where Family Guy made it a fucking joke.
Yeah, it's like name 10 more, and he goes and
And yeah, he goes.
Okay.
Name me 20 songs. Name me 20 songs. He goes on. All right, name me 5 more.
He
All right,
does it.
and then name me 10 more. No. And then he just smashes the guitar. Goes, go fuck yourself. But like in terms of originality, and honestly, that's one of the reasons why I kind of love the modern metalcore genre. Everybody has heard metalcore and everybody knows what metalcore is and all that type of stuff. If you need a reference to it, think Early A Day to Remember, think Ice Nine Kills, think Motionless in White. one of the cool things about it, and this is one of the reasons why I love like music, and one of the reasons why originality is kind of all over the place in terms of music, is they have gotten to the point where they're just like, okay, let's change it up. Let's start combining shit. Like, as controversial of a band as they are, Falling in Reverse is a great example of that, considering the fact that they're able to mix techno, rap, and metal all into one and make it sound so naturally put together.
You know, this does remind me of a very funny joke. How is candy a lot like music?
How?
It's a lot better when you get rid of the rappers.
I got one for you. This is kind of a Norm Macdonald kind of joke. I'll use the same setup if you don't mind. How is candy a lot like music?
How?
Well, I choked on it once. The joke is I'm an idiot, but you know what I mean.
Get out.
Okay.
You're fired.
Just takes off the microphone I don't have on you.
I am the captain now.
Look at me.
Your teeth need to be a lot more fucked up for that.
I'm
English, so it counts.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So with him being from Colombia, I was actually born in England.
Yeah, we got all kinds of things going on up there.
We're all over the place. I am whiter than white.
What did I think Jack at some point said? What did he say? He said you make eggshell look dark or something like that.
Yeah. Oh my god. But that
was
the day that I was being roasted at my work while one of the guys was trying to read a book.
Goddamn white baby is that?
Oh my god, that's good. Yeah.
I forget what show that's from, but that's easily one of my favorite sketches I've seen from. Apparently, this is a new genre of comedy, black comedy.
That's new.
Oh, apparently, when you're looking on any streaming services,
are we talking about the racial implication, or are we talking like?
Well,
like
apparently, because everything is woke now, they got to segregate it from black comedy to just regular comedy to black stories to just not black stories to Asian specific stories. It's like, dude, can't shit just be funny for the sake of being funny?
I feel you on that. You know,
Can you buy me a drink first? That's all I'm saying.
That's like I've had that issue come up, and again, it's.
Would you mind loading me your lipstick, Mom? Because I want to at least look pretty the next time you decide to fuck me.
That was a great.
That was a really
one of my favorite episodes because they did a behind the scenes on how they record it, and Trey Parker couldn't stop laughing while he was recording the Japanese guy.
Oh yeah. But you know, it's funny.
I can't even read the English. What do I eat? Do I eat the cuttlefish and asparagus or the vanilla paste?
Pretty good.
Very well. I tried the cuttlefish and asparagus. Oh no. Cuttlefish and asparagus coming out of us hole. Here it comes. Or I pray for you, Kyer.
Fucking done.
Can I put you into one of those like dolls that like you record a sound and then it like repeats it? I want you.
To... Teddy Ruxpin.
He could be a sample intro for our next breakdown.
No, put it in a friggin' Build-A-Bear thing. I just.
Oh my god.
Yes,
dude, that'd be great. Just ruin some kid's day. Here you go, kid.
Ruin or make it better.
Or I don't know. I mean, that's up for the kid to decide.
Ruin for the kid, or would it make it better for the parent? Or
I don't much care. I just want to know what's happening.
All right, I'm just saying.
Same. Yeah, me too. You know.
But I mean, we've basically talked about originality, but I think one final thing we do need to discuss: how many songs, not including added-on songs, like songs that existed prior to it. Like, I could be wrong, but in Big Hero 6, Immortals, the song Immortals was already a thing.
Yes,
before. It was a thing, right? Okay.
Yes.
How many songs, original, need to be in a movie for it to be considered a musical?
I honestly think there's actually a specific. So fun fact. My background is actually in theater. I actually Yeah, in case the whole vibe didn't give it away. But well, I actually went to college for it and everything, and the joke that we used to have was what's the difference between a musical and a play? About 5 or 6 verses.
That's pretty good.
And the whole reason being is because like I bounce between musical theater to regular theater. Like if to give kind of context as to like polar opposites of one another. For my my freshman year or my sophomore year of college, I was in a play called She Loves Me, which is a full-on musical. As it was actually, if you are looking for an adaptation that people are more familiar with, the movie You Got Mail was actually based off the play. But the next year I did a play called Extremities, which is
You told me about that.
very, 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 very different. I'm not going to go into too many details, but
As far as plays that aren't musical go, my favorite is 12 Angry Men. And
Yes.
that's actually the basis of one of the upcoming X-Men episodes, 12 Angry Mutants.
I love that. That makes me happy,
The
and I
whole
can't wait.
episode is Cyclops explaining to a good portion of Wolverine's enemies why he's innocent.
That's
Interesting.
that's a cool concept.
Yeah,
Fun
and
fact,
it's-
that's
and
actually
the
my favorite.
episode before then, it's kind of a mid-quel episode
Mm-hmm.
because the episode before then is Wolverine versus the Hulk, in homage to the comic of the same name.
That makes me happy. But in the case of musicals and all that type of stuff, it's kind of in and of itself open to interpretation. But if we're getting into the technical aspects, I think you have to have at least 3 or 4 songs.
3 or 4 songs where it's like a background thing, where you saw like Transformers the movie, where they were there but they were still doing their own shit. Or
No.
3 or 4 songs where the characters immediately stop what they're doing. and
Dedicated songs, and it doesn't have to be an instance of stop what you're doing, because there are a lot of musicals where it just goes into
The
it.
exposition is like the song,
the exposition is the song. So
They just,
great.
instead of talking, they sing
Yeah.
it,
So going back to like say The Lion King. The Lion King in and of itself is technically musical.
Well, a good portion of these Disney movies are musicals.
Yeah,
Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Lion King. Oh, we never discussed Beauty and the Beast. What would that? I feel like it would be Beauty and the Beast, the song Beauty and the Beast.
For me, it's I definitely agree. That's probably the most identifiable one of that movie. Me personally, my all-time favorite, and the one that I personally think is the superior, is Be Our Guest.
Beauty and the Beast, Stockholm Syndrome, the movie.
Yeah, you're not wrong. But going into musicals and all that type of stuff, like with the exposition and everything along those lines, great example is The Lion King. All the songs blend in perfectly. Like there is no awkward pause and everyone starts singing and everyone's like, "What the hell's going on?" It is an instance of like it's seamless. Like
there's one thing I don't understand.
You
remember the scene after the Hakuna Matata scene, and you go back to the Pride Lands?
Yeah.
Where in the hell did Zazu pick up those American songs?
Don't worry about it. You're peppering us with questions, and I don't.
He literally sings "Nobody Knows the Troubles I've Seen," followed by
"I've Got a
Small
Lot
World After All," and then "I've Got a Lovely Bunch of Coconuts."
I honestly have asked myself that question all the time, because I know the answer is just
They're
Disney.
listening. They're listening.
Right. Sorry. Like I know.
Disney is just jerking itself off by the sound of marketing.
Yeah, I know that at the end of the day, the answer is just Disney thought it'd be funny. Just like how in Aladdin, it's how the hell was he able to do Jack Nicholson impressions when
he explained he was able to see into the future, so he was somewhat omnipotent.
Although there is a giant theory as to Aladdin is actually post-apocalyptic. There's a giant theory about
I remember reading about that.
Genie does have the capability to see different aspects of time.
Yes, but the thing is they had to come out and explain that as opposed to in the movie
being self-evident.
in the movie it being self-evident that he can see. Like, obviously he makes that reference of phenomenal cosmic power and all that type of stuff, in which case it implies that you probably have the ability to sit there and go, but in the movie it was just references and all that type of stuff, and they had to come out later and be like, Genie can see the future, so he's able to make these references.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like you said, Zazu's not the genie. He's a bird.
He's a burb.
So,
Well, you know, birds are.
my only assumption is like he probably saw a dude in a safari truck driving by.
Birds are a government creation. So I mean, what do we know?
Stop. But in terms of like musicals, because background stuff happening doesn't make it a musical. Shit, one of the greatest examples of that is Power Rangers or Pokemon. Like, they always had background. They always had background
Yeah,
stuff.
like the first Pokemon.
Yeah.
Movie.
Yeah. Like that. But at the same time, that in and of itself was not a musical. It was just background music for the scene that it was going on. I think personally, when the thing that constitutes a musical is when the music is a part of the scene. It's not just background noise that is giving things into it. It is something that actually it is a necessity for the scene in and of itself,
or the story, like to move it forward.
Yes. Yeah. Like going back to Disney movies and all that type of stuff, they do this a lot. And obviously it's because musicals sell, and like one of the things that always makes them so popular is the fact of
kids pop.
It's just the fact of one of the things that always help people remember stuff is a catchy jingle. It's an earworm; it gets stuck in your head. Like, I wanted to throw myself out a window every single time I heard the song "Let It Go," to the point where I couldn't get it out of my head.
I almost wanted to murder Idina Mendes. I knew nothing against her. It's just I feel like if she was unalived, the song would therefore be unalived.
No. I think the opposite. You kill people, you martyr them. It will be played more than you've ever heard before.
Yeah, see,
there will be a day dedicated to it.
As a musical theater fan, though, I will tell you right now, "Let It Go" would be the one that everyone automatically thinks of. The one that everyone would hear all the time is "Defying Gravity" by Wicked.
Yes. The song "Let It Go" is kind of ironic.
Yeah,
because
it really
no one ever lets it go. They just keep singing it.
Yeah, and no one lets it go. But I think the thing that constitutes a musical is when the music not only, this is probably a dirty phrase of saying it, infects the scene itself, but is also a necessity and a driving point to keep the narrative going.
Sometimes referring something as dirty is the best way you can. Like, I met Rob Paulson. For those of you that don't know, he was the voice of two different turtles and 2 different points.
Yeah.
Yakko from the Animaniacs, Carl Weezer from Jimmy Neutron, Steel.
This whole band has a Carl Weezer lore going on right now. So, like, yeah.
Steelbeak from Darkwing Duck. Trying to figure out who else he did.
He's
one of the original Gummy Bears from the Gummy Bears show.
Yep.
Like one of his earliest work. Too many characters to name. You get the idea.
It's like sitting there trying to list off Phil Lamar's acting experience. Like, there are so many characters that you could sit down and talk about that you're just going to be here all day.
Pretty much. But point is, when I asked him about voice acting, he told me it was little V, big A. And yeah, that does sound dirty, but he was essentially saying that it's putting more emphasis on the acting than the voice.
Yeah. And it's kind of the same thing when it comes to musicals. And I'm probably gonna get roasted in the comments from the musical theater community, but my interpretation of it is essentially when the music becomes essential to the scene, as opposed to it not being necessary, but complementing it. Complementing it is one thing, like scenes where, like, the greatest example, it's such a huge trope in movies, is the montage. Yeah. Whether it be a training montage or like a bonding montage, they always have that song in the background.
Great, now I want to watch the South Park Glee episode.
Yeah, like that.
Don't make me flap, yo.
But that song, it's not necessary.
Right.
Like they could have just done instrumental or orchestral stuff like a lot of animes do.
So what you're
And it
saying
would've
is
been
what
fine.
ultimately makes it the musical is the quantity of songs as well as the necessity of the song being there itself.
Yes. That
I agree with that sentiment.
that personally is kind of where I kind of draw the line between musical and stuff along those
So do you
lines.
consider Tarzan to be a musical, even though they
Uh,
necessarily don't sing?
No,
I wouldn't.
I honestly,
There's a soundtrack, but it's not
yeah,
musical.
I do not consider Tarzan a musical. I consider that montage is the movie, because every single time that song comes out and highlights it, it's during a long montage. There are only
Plus, the characters aren't singing it. That's
There are
that's the other
only-
thing.
there are
Only
only
except for Trash in the Camp, but that's more like of a doo-wop thing.
but trashing the camp and the beginning of the first iteration of "You'll Be in My Heart," where Glenn Close starts
Yeah,
singing.
but that's only for like what 48 seconds or something like that.
Not even that.
Yeah,
Uh, 5 seconds, 10 at most.
And that
Okay.
and that well, like 20 to
Okay,
30.
well then the whole
if we're
scene
being
at least
technical.
is like that.
But
The whole thing
that
becomes Phil Collins.
yeah, but that in and of itself, like the characters themselves aren't singing. And granted, the song
You know, I think that
Plus-
movie may also be good high. I don't know.
it would and granted, the song definitely complements the scene. It's not necessary. But so like I don't personally constitute Tarzan as a musical
It had a
because
musical for a while.
yeah, it had
Yeah.
one. And that was and the musical version of and the Tarzan the musical was very different. Like
I didn't like
it
it.
told the same story, but like it was a lot more involved. Like a lot of the characters were a lot more vocalized with the songs and everything along those lines. They turned the movie into a musical. The movie itself, however,
I mean, basically,
Funny.
you could say the same thing. Like, Wicked is obviously based. Oh, well, no, the Wizard of Oz was kind of a musical. Oh,
Yeah.
Beetlejuice. There we go.
There's- yeah.
Or God Awful Spider-Man.
we don't talk about that.
Yeah, we try not to, but it finds its way to exist.
Yeah, but yeah, like Beetlejuice is a wonderful example.
Funny enough, Alex Brightman makes his way to the Has-Been / Hell of a Boss universe in the form of Adam, aka Dickmaster, Sir
Yeah.
Pengus, and who's the last guy?
Oh fuck. Who did he play?
Joe Biden.
Hold on.
No, it's gonna kill me now.
The wizard. That is
It's gonna
Google.
bother the hell out of me.
But I want to bring this up while Austin's looking that up. Now That We're Men, the SpongeBob movie. Now it's not a musical, but I just want to point out the brilliance.
Fizz or Ollie. That was gonna
Thank
kill
you.
me. God, that was gonna kill me.
Yeah, Fizzaroli or Fizz.
Well, that's technically RoboFizz, but that's kind of like saying you can count Keith David's role crediting to Thaylog because he also did Goliath. Anytime you see a clone, the character, more times than not, the person that did the original also did the clone. Unless that clone's like really fucked up.
Yeah.
I'm Superman!
You take care of me the rest of my life.
But yeah,
the whole Ted thing, I remember that.
Yeah, I'm a little fucked up.
oh
I
god.
love how they, it's like, I got you back with the whole, it's like, we're a fun hospital?
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah, Adam. So he was also the Voxtech infomercial voice, and like we said, Fizzaroli and RoboFizz as well. God, he also provided like quite a few background voices for that
Yeah,
too.
but it's not as highlighted.
No, it's not a
When
main.
you think of Gargoyles, everybody knows Keith David as Goliath and Thaylog, but he also did a police officer, but it's not as prevalent.
It still blows my mind that they got Keith David to be Husk and has been
Yeah,
like
you
that.
know what's funny? What I've noticed a lot about voice actors, especially when it comes to overseas, like Frankie from One Piece is a good example from this.
Yeah.
You see it in the American version. His American voice actor from Funimation matches his physical attributes.
It really does,
But
honestly.
then when you see it in Japanese, it matches his personality,
Yeah, it really does, honestly.
which is something I find awesome in the voice acting community.
Yeah, and that's something I always appreciated and really liked. I really admired about the voice acting community, and it's one of the reasons why I would love to take a crack at it at some point.
I mean, a role is a role. I mean, in the same way that you cast someone to be in a movie or a TV show based on the way they look,
or us getting a gig.
Yeah,
right?
Or even funny out of context. It's like, oh, so what did you do? I was Hitler. It's like, wait, what?
What?
Like, oh yeah, no. In this movie, in this web series, I voiced Hitler.
Not in a past life though. Like,
well, so what do you do? I was Satan. What? Oh, no. In a movie.
And now I will fuck you. Dad, fuck you up.
Well, I'm sorry. What did I say? Yeah. Well, your first wife didn't mind what I did, and apparently the second one didn't either.
And apparently Adam's more hated. Go
Yeah.
figure.
Yeah. All of mankind came from these nuts.
good. That's good scrimshaw.
I've been going back and watching clips. Just Nifty is the best character of the show.
I
Fight me.
have seen some of the clips in Japanese, just to see how it compares between the two.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
I've seen a couple of different clips as well, and I don't know.
It's also interesting when you see different characters and songs in other languages. Like when Yakko does his songs from around the world, it's also done by the same guy that voices Frieza in Japanese.
No shit.
Really? Look that shit up.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's like, Frieza, what countries are you, or what states are you going to blow up next?
Yeah, and it's it's the same thing with like listening to Mark Hamill voice acting and everything along those lines. I hear him do something, I'm just like, oh look, Joker's back.
Yeah.
Dude, want to hear something that'll blow your mind?
Hit me.
Look up Tim Curry Joker.
Look up who?
Tim Curry Joker. Look it up.
Shut the hell up. No, he didn't.
When?
He was originally going to be Joker in 2 different incarnations. The original Batman movie, as well as the Batman the Animated Series.
Wait.
Shut up.
Let me see this.
Yeah. He voiced he actually had begun recording for Batman the Animated Series when he was replaced. After voicing the Joker for at least 4 episodes, Curry suffered a bout of bronchitis that rendered him unable to perform. During his recovery, the studio replaced him with Mark Hamill, and the rest, as they say, is history.
Whoa.
That's freaking awesome.
Well, at least he got to play A-Clown.
I would kind of like to live in that universe where we see Tim Curry Joker. I mean, that'd be kind of fun.
That means Mark Hamill has to be Pennywise.
Yeah, no, he would have to be another villain, though, because if
You're not
history
wrong.
has taught us anything, Mark Hamill does villains than he does heroes better.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
I think he would be a great Scarecrow.
Mark Hamill?
Just for the sake of novelty, I think he would be a great Two-Face.
He would be a phenomenal Two-Face.
Yeah.
Especially like, because I love the Arkham's version. If he did like an Arkham style version of Two-Face where it's the same guy, but like it's each version is different. Like Harvey Dent is much cleaner voice, and Two-Face is like we should be more mindful. This is a place of justice. Screw justice.
It's kind of like a Jekyll and Hyde thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, that's what inspired it.
Yeah.
Right. Or I think they said in that Batman the Animated Series where they they had Zeus.
Yeah.
I forgot which deity he was based on or something, or he kind of paid homage to. But whatever.
I know at some point. I can't remember. It's been so long since I've sat down and watched.
I think we've spent enough time on different ways music can be original, a way music has been inspirational.
I agree.
Yeah.
Musicals, for example, and the way it's lead to, or how music has been rebooted, but in a way that's not been rebooted.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I hope everyone enjoys that contradiction I made.
Hey, man, listen, it's all about stirring the pot. If you're not making people pissed off on the internet, you're not doing something right.
Well, on that note, thank you guys for to be here.
Thank you for having us,
man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
and we're really looking forward to giving you and we're really looking forward to hearing your song on the podcast, hearing our song on the podcast,
It's gonna rip.
Well, it's
And,
going to be in the web series, but
Yeah.
sorry, I misspoke. That is my bad.
We're again, for context, we're running on about this much battery and this much sleep.
He did not.
Dorado, but
Yeah,
one more time.
He did not sleep last night. I worked an overnight shift last night at my day job, and I've only gotten about 2 hours. So both of us are kind of collectively working with half of a brain cell.
Yeah,
All right, let's wrap this up one more time. Who are you? Where can people find you? And how can they get a hold of you?
Once again, I'm Austin Plague.
I'm Alex Black. We're Half Past Dead. You can check out our music at halfpastdeadmusic.com. Our album Kiss the World Goodbye is out on all streaming platforms. Go check it out. Catch us at a show. And if you love us, stay for the music. And you're invited to the cookout.
Terrific. Once again, this
The
has
ultimate
been Geek Talk with Tyler. And if you like this episode, follow, subscribe, and like for more geeky content. And remember, stay geeky.